Live. Here we go. Howdy, howdy to the horrors and the birds. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Well, let's bring up our first guest.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Will you give me just 1 second? I want to adjust something really quick.
Sure thing.
Just making sure that everybody can see your lovely profile picture.
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it just makes for a better viewing experience.
Okay.
And for some reason, the TikTok app updated, so now I have to make a change.
I gotcha. For hindsight, I am a physicist myself.
Are you?
I am.
Oh, okay, cool. So then we'll have plenty to talk about. Let me just jot something down.
I came up here for a question, to be quite frank.
Oh, okay, yeah, what's up?
So I'm working on this project. You're aware of the Doppler effect, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to generate this machine that is able to build resonancy through sound frequency. Can I have some advice on why I can't find a natural frequency of certain things?
Of what kind of things?
Like metal things. I want to essentially build resonancy sound waves because when you get amplitude that resonates with each other, you create vibration that's noticeable, which could be a very helpful diagnostics tool. However, I'm struggling with this, to be honest.
Well, A, you need to make sure that your frequency sweep is large enough.
Okay.
B, it's not always the case that you will necessarily notice a resonant frequency. The resonance can be quite small, especially for things that aren't particularly nicely shaped.
Okay.
But what you could do is you could like attach a, I don't know, piezoelectric sensor or something like that to detect small vibrations, and then you could measure those small vibrations and sweep through your frequency until you see the peak, and that would give you a resonance.
Okay. I'll give it a shot. That's
All
the
right,
only
good
reason I
luck.
can go. Thank
You're
you.
good. That's not what this is usually for. However, we're happy to talk to physicists. It sounds like he was a physics student. Phase Bro, have we spoken before?
Yes, a while ago.
Okay. Was it on this topic?
Yes. Yeah. This is like a while ago.
Okay, so what did you want to talk about today?
I have an argument for you on, it's just basically saying that, there is a it's a fine-tuning argument, but from a standpoint that that you need an architect, if you will, to
Okay, feel free to run the argument.
So my idea goes like this, which is every reasonable or every logical universe exists so that this universe exists, right? So every logical universe
I don't follow that.
exists.
What do you mean so that?
So what I'm saying is, if you're thinking about any type of logical universe that needs to keep logical consistency, that universe does exist. And it's just to fly in the face of this anthropic principle, right? With this like fine-tuning error that we understand about our reality, right?
Is this supposed to be an argument for the existence of God?
Yeah, it is. It is, because
But
it's saying
if you're
that,
saying that there's no fine-tuning, then that weakens the argument for God.
No, fine-tuning is saying that, like, this is tuned to this much or that much. I'm saying that every logical universe exists, right? Like
Right. Then we can
need-
explain why our universe exists just because it's one of the logically possible universes. There's no reason.
Right.
There's no deeper
Right.
reason as to why our constants are the way that they are.
No, but you're going to say that because the universe existing necessitates logic, it requires someone with a mind with architecting things to come
Why would I
about.
think
right?
that the existence of the universe necessitates logic?
Why would it? Because my argument is that every universe that is logical exists, right? Like
Okay, why would I? But that's just presupposing that logic exists in like
it's the reason why
with some like
it's the reason
actual ontology.
it's the reason why you have a mathematical prediction that predicts the stuff before you actually see the physical results of it, right? You have you all you have you all
Okay,
you do
so
is
your
just study
argument
all
has
these-
nothing to do with fine tuning, has nothing to do with the universe. It's just that if logic exists, then a logic designer exists. Logic exists, therefore a logic designer exists. That's the argument.
right, and you
Okay,
need
well,
you need someone
I
you
don't
need to be.
I don't accept that logic exists objectively.
But you're not living in that belief, right? Because
Sure,
you
I am.
always have-
I view logic as like a thing that humans do, or intelligent things do, and we happen to be intelligent. It's a thing that intelligent things do as a way to try to make sense of the world around them. I don't think that this exists without people.
But it's the reason why we develop models, and then we say that this model predicts such a thing. It's the reason why, let's say, Einstein saw the black hole before he saw it physically.
Well,
or
he did.
right?
Well, he didn't, but sure. Look, you can make predictions even if logic and mathematics are all human creations. The idea
Right,
merely
but, like,
being that
why-
we have merely being that we have some sort of linguistic description, which we would call mathematics, and that linguistic description seems to be a good way of understanding the world. And so we try to predict the way the world will be using those linguistic descriptions. And most of the time, those linguistic descriptions that make those predicted linguistic descriptions fail. Sometimes they're correct.
When they're correct, they're like, we find out like one simple model predicted so much that you would have to say that, that like such a prediction is not like a happenstance.
What's the argument
logic.
for that?
He because when Einstein developed his special general relativity, you had to follow that logic to its extreme end when you're trying to see if
What
this
logic?
thing exists and that thing exists. Like I'm
What
just
logic
giving
do you
you
have to
an
follow to the
example.
extreme end?
Like is logic about a black hole and gravity and such.
You can.
You would have to,
and so that means that his first guess was very, very good. It doesn't mean that there's some like intrinsic, like objective logic that, or actually you don't even think it's objective. It doesn't mean that there is some logic in the universe that is designed by a logic giver. It just means that the models that we came up with, this way of thinking about the world that we call logic, is an effective one.
but we're finding out that it's even more than that, because we're finding out that for anything to exist in a logical way, these for instance, like time and space being the stage that reality plays on, you still need to understand what truly time is, what truly space is, and how those things are described by your linguistics, whether it's mathematical or conceptual.
Okay.
And then you follow these things to the extreme end, right? That's how you find out these predictions, and they are incredible predictions about the world we live in. And he happens to be bang on, because
Well, no, most of them are wrong. Also, I just got some serious echo. I don't know what just happened, but okay, I think that we're okay. Yeah, most of the predictions that we make are wrong. Most of the models that we construct are not good models.
But a lot of life scientists believe that, like, you know, what, like, the universe is at least consistent in being described by a like, you know, when we say like something is not like, um when we predict something that exists from just the pure conceptions that we have, and then we put it on a piece of paper, and then we do these like research and try to find ways to like navigate this. What we're saying is that we are relying on this we're stress testing how far our understanding of our reality is, because we
Yeah, and
believe
most of the time the predictions that we make are wrong.
because we believe underlying this is that we believe that the universe is consistent with the logic that we developed in this model.
Yeah, sure. The universe can be consistent with these logics that we developed. And it can be that we developed those logics because that's the way the universe is, not the other way around.
But we're relying on just intelligence and pure logic, right? We're relying
I don't
on
know
just
what that means.
like,
Look, so
we're
our universe
relying
is a
on-
certain way. We came up with a way to describe that universe in a nice and consistent way. If the universe had been different, assuming that we still existed, we would have come up with a different way to describe the universe.
saying it could not be anything different. It can't be. You need the like, you know, for instance, like when it comes to Einstein and space and time, you need time, you need space, because time
Prove
and
it.
space is what necessitates existence. Without
No,
those things,
you could have space without
those
time.
properties, you cannot have existence, right? You need.
Sure you can. You could have space without time. It would just not be very interesting.
I don't even know what that even means. That's why you're that's an illogical statement that you just made.
It's not illogical.
Right?
It's called the Euclidean space.
No, that, like, again, like, I'm talking about just, you know, I'm not talking about just a purely conceptual, right? Because just because you conceived it doesn't mean when you say this Euclidean
There's no
space exists.
physical issues with having a physical universe that is timeless. It's just not very interesting. But people work, like the physicists that you're referring to work with this stuff all the time.
I'm saying that in order for, you know, in order for even your Euclidean concept to exist, it has to exist within, right, within temporally, right? Within,
No,
like,
it wouldn't
so
exist temporally.
have to,
There'd be no
you
time.
have to force. There would be no time.
Yeah,
And you
if,
think something
if the universe is Euclidean, then there's no time. And I can show you a paper which is really interesting, that I read somewhat recently. Let me see if I can find it. Is it here? Okay, so it's this author, and then I just have to go pull up the actual paper. Here we go. Actually, we like the older one, it has better pictures. Okay. Oh, he left. Why did he run away? I was gonna show him some science that he likes to talk about. Okay, well, I'll show you guys anyway. So here's a paper. Oops, I don't want to move me. I want to move the paper. And I can hide this. So this paper was published by, or was written by Feng Mukoyama and Uzan, which is interesting. Oh, he's back. Okay, we'll bring him back, so that he can listen. So yeah, so here's a paper that you should take a look at. In this paper, they describe how you can have emergent time from an otherwise timeless universe. And so what you have here is that you have something called a clock field. And so it's the relationship between the matter fields and the clock fields that gives the appearance of time, despite time not being a thing that actually exists. It's purely Euclidean, purely spatial. So it's definitely an interesting paper. I would suggest that you take a look. But it's something that people take serious, or at least some people take seriously. Welcome back. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? What's going on?
I can hear you now. Did you hear anything that I just said?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
I was trying to grab a screenshot. You
Oh,
moved
I can
away,
put it.
but
I can put it back. I can put it back. That's no problem. Here you go. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but like, the point is that it's not clear to me why I should think that logic is some fundamental thing that's required for the universe to exist, and rather than instead, the universe is a certain way, and we came up with logic to make sense of it.
It's because that, like, whenever we find something, like it's like there is some correlation between new ways of describing things, new ways of mathematics and understanding, and that understanding has some kind of it's a blueprint for some kind of phenomena in the universe. Like, it's just like
Sometimes, not always.
but it's a lot of times that cannot be a coincidental thing. Like,
Wait, hold on. How do you? I don't know on what grounds you can say it's a lot of times. There's so much mathematics that is completely like untethered by the natural world, completely unrelated.
But it's somehow you can't say completely.
Yes, I can.
Like, there
Absolutely,
would
I
be,
can. Because most of mathematics is not used whatsoever in physics.
no. This is assuming that you have to have the of course, the reason of existence, right? You have to say, if something exists, right, it would have to exist this way. Just because you can conceptualize it, that does not mean like that. What I'm saying is
What?
that no, because just because something, for something to exist, right, for it to have a physical phenomena and a physical description, right,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be in a time and in a temporal thing and a spatial thing. That's
Well,
how
no,
you
I mean,
start
again, it doesn't have, like, I just showed you a paper that was talking about how you can have a purely spatial universe. In fact, our universe could be purely spatial with no time, with no, like, genuine actual time. There's just the appearance of time, the illusion of time. But look, it seems like that you're stuck on the time thing rather than addressing what I just said about why it's about how it's not clear that logic is something that's required, that is somehow like a prerequisite for the universe existing rather than going the other way.
because it's everything is so consistent with these models, right? You don't see some.
Yeah, we came up with them to be consistent. That's the whole business. That's the whole business of being a physicist. You take a look at the data and you try to come up with something that matches that data.
What does that say about the physical phenomena? That it behaves consistently with the thing that you
That
came
it
up
behaves
with.
consistently. I don't think that you could have agents in a universe that wasn't consistent.
Does it also say that if there is a God, it's possible that he followed this physical phenomena to its logical, you know, exhaustion, such that this phenomena is always consistent in behaving in this particular model, right? It's saying that if there is a God, he is following any model that you bring forth to its logical extreme, following each and
Why
every
would I believe that such a being exists? Why would I believe that it provides any additional explanatory power to the naturalistic worldview?
Well, the other thing about this is that, like, you would have to believe that this God is a creator and an architect, and an architect.
You're not addressing my question.
Yeah, you would have to believe that this God is an architect.
You're
Right?
not
You would
addressing
have
my
to,
question.
that's what like. What is your question? Your question is,
My question
why
is,
would you believe-
what additional explanatory power does this God offer that the naturalistic explanation does not?
I would say that of the naturalistic explanation, and that layer on top of it would be that this God, right? This God is needed to
What is it
ground the
needed
fact
for?
that, yeah, to ground the fact that there is an architect behind the consistency of the physical phenomena. There is an architect
That's the assertion again. I'm asking why should we think that an architect is necessary to explain what is already explained by the naturalistic model? What extra thing does an architect do that we can't account for naturalistically, or that we can't account for but need to account for?
possibly that there is a mind, and your mind is close to
That's
that
the thing in
mind.
question. What is the...
Yeah, but
I don't know why you're
that
not
you-
answering the question. The question is,
because
what is the
you're-
feature of our world that needs explaining that the naturalistic model cannot explain?
The biblical God specifically says that humans are created in the image of God, right? So
Cool.
what does
Answer
that-
my
what does that
question.
mean? Yeah, so what that means is that we have the capacity to understand his nature from the things that we observe, and I believe that this communication is through logic, through understanding that
Why
there
can't
is
you
an
answer my question? Or like, do you have like an allergy, or...
I'm trying to answer it as best as I can.
I don't... Okay, so then are you not understanding the question? Because the question is straightforward, right? What feature of our world, so a feature that, we all agree exists, so there's some way the world is, needs explanation that the naturalistic model cannot explain?
What feature not a physical, if you're looking for a physical feature, right? If I say, like, clouds are beautiful, or like the sky is blue, and this and that in and of itself is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is
Okay,
that
so there are no features of the world that need
Perhaps-
explanation that cannot be explained naturalistically?
perhaps those things would tell you about his personality, right? For instance, let me give you another analogy. Okay, the way I'm thinking about
Wait
it.
a minute, why not just answer the question rather than giving an analogy?
Let me like, there's a unicorn could have existed in this universe.
Why aren't you
Because if
answering my
they-
question? You can
I'm
say
trying to
there
answer.
are no features that need explanation that the naturalistic model can't explain. That's a totally valid answer. It sounds like that's what you were saying.
Because the question is like, not it's not like, it's not the direction I'm going with what I'm saying.
Okay, so you understand that if you're going to propose a new, well, it's not new, but if you're going to propose an idea as a means to try to convince somebody of something, then there are a few different ways that you could try to convince that person, right? One way that you could try to convince that person is just say, look, there is this piece of data, we would call it evidence, that is explained well by my idea, but your idea can't explain it. That's what I'm asking for. If you can't give me a reason why your idea is better at explaining the world than my idea, then it just seems like there's no reason I should accept your idea.
But your idea is also insufficient in describing.
I'm not trying to convince you of my idea.
I'm not like you have a claim, right? You have a claim as well.
No.
Like if you
The prompt
You have
here
a
is,
claim
can you
that-
convince me to believe in your God? You came with an
Well,
argument. The argument, I'm telling you
yeah.
how you would convince somebody. You would offer evidence, some feature of the world that your hypothesis better explains than mine. But it sounds like you can't come up with one.
Like, what evidence would you need?
I don't know. It's your argument.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what evidence? Because you're natural.
How about this? An example of a feature of the world that naturalistic explanations cannot account for, but that your version of the world, with a god or with a designer or an architect, can account for.
Perhaps, like, we could look at things and phenomena that we don't fully understand, right? Like, dark energy and dark matter and stuff like that. Like, we don't have complete understanding of what they are, but we are somehow relying on the fact that even these things have some kind of logic built into them, such that we have to reconstruct our understanding.
I don't understand. So are you saying that that logic is a feature of the world that naturalistic explanations can't account for?
Naturalistic explanations is not adequate to answer every phenomena, like, because if it was, it's just it's just like you make a statement, right? I see a rock. That's it. Like, it does this. It's just a naturalistic description of. Okay.
So I don't know why you're not answering my question. Like, it's like I say words and then you respond with completely unrelated words. And I feel like I'm going crazy.
Because you're not relying on the naturalistic explanations for everything.
Is your claim that one of the features of the world is logic and that naturalism can't account for that logic?
At least it doesn't account for where it came from and how that is just such a consistent thing in our existence. It
So
doesn't
I
account
take
for
the
that
view
fact.
that logic is not a feature of our universe. I don't think that logic is a thing that exists. I take it that it is a human construction.
We just made it up.
In the same way, or in a similar way, that we made up the rules of chess.
I disagree with that. I think if you took out every human being from this planet, this universe would exist in a logical way of existing. I don't think we need humanity.
So I agree that the universe would exist. I don't know what it would mean for it to be logical. Which logic?
To follow the laws.
Which laws?
The constraints of.
Are we talking about like Schrodinger logics? Are we talking about paraconsistent logics, fuzzy logics?
Everything that we came up with linguistically, those things would exist even without us conceptualizing and
The
putting it on paper.
linguistic stuff wouldn't exist. The things that the linguistic things describe would exist.
Exactly.
So like, yeah, stars would exist. Planets would exist. Galaxies would exist. But where's the logic?
The logic is obviously built into them, right?
Why would you think that?
Why would you not?
Because logic isn't a feature of the natural world. Logic is a set of rules and relationships between propositions.
Right, like that's what I'm saying. Like, you make everything that you're saying, like everything that we came up with it on our own. Right? We had to just find ways and symbols and
Yeah.
math to describe things, and
Yep.
we just like made it up. But that's not what's happening here, because we make up stuff after we find that phenomena, physical phenomena, and then we describe that fact afterwards. right?
Yeah,
What
we
you're
describe it
forgetting-
with the language that we made up.
But what you're forgetting is that the thing that we just conceptualized and made up, that thing existed even
The thing
before.
existed, not the description. The thing, the star exists, regardless of how we understand it.
Yeah, and it follows laws and it follows principles.
No, it's described by laws. It's not governed by
Yeah.
them.
Governed. Yeah, it's governed by them.
No.
Why are you saying it's not governed by
Because
them? It's
laws are
governed by-
abstract objects. Abstract objects don't have causal power. They
So
don't
where
do
did-
anything.
Why do we even use the word law?
I don't know. Ask like Galileo.
Like why do we use like this physical law describes this?
I don't know. Ask Galileo or Newton or someone who first started using that. That's a linguistic thing, and it's a historical thing.
You're even doubting their work because
No, I'm just saying that they were the ones. I actually don't know who coined the usage of the word law with regard to, like, physics and stuff. I don't know who was the first person to use that, but it was probably someone a few hundred years ago who used that language, and then we stuck with it. Just because we use that language, just because we use the word law instead of model or instead of description, doesn't mean that it's any more, causally relevant.
I've heard like a lot of places. I've heard like within the scientific community that there is an idea that something is a theory, which is not a law, which is like
I'm gonna be very sad. Actually, this was the ancient Greeks, I guess, who used the language of law to describe the natural world. So that's why we've kept it, because the ancient Greeks did it.
Yeah, it's because they believed that these laws. We kept it. The reason we kept it is because this thing is like a law. We believe in the utility of that word, right? We believe that it's a law.
The reason why we kept it is for historical reasons, because people used it that way, and then it stuck around. This happens a lot in science, where we have something that's probably not named correctly, but it sticks around just, because that's how it was originally used, or how it was originally described.
Come on, if there's anybody in this world that are very meticulous in using the right verbiage.
Then you just don't know scientists then. So we have things like there's an object called a planetary nebula. Do you think planetary nebulas have anything to do with planets?
I don't know what that is. I'm trying to figure out.
A planetary nebula is the thing left behind after a star like our own dies. And the thing is, they have nothing to do with planets.
Oh, it's because we got the story wrong, right?
Yeah, but the name stuck around.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of instances that we make that mistake.
Yeah, like calling descriptions of nature laws.
It's just
We got the story wrong. They're not laws enforced by a lawgiver. They're descriptions.
Even if they are descriptions, you're not trying to get the point that I'm trying to say. Even if they are descriptions, right? It still belies the fact that these descriptions are just very consistent with the models that we have. Like
the models are the descriptions.
Yeah, the models are the descriptions. I agree with that, right?
Yeah, so we come up with different models, and we see which models, which are descriptions, best matches the world that we live in. Most of them end up being wrong. Some of them end up being right. or end up being good. I don't want to say right.
Well, I try to give you my philosophical take on why physics, why we rely on science, is really because we have a God that is very disciplined in a way. He creates and bring things about, that he is just not throwing things around and creating
Okay,
Euclidean
so we're
time.
just begging the question again.
Sorry?
We're just like assuming that God exists again.
No, I'm not assuming that. I'm not assuming that God exists. You would have to listen from the perspective that somebody who believes in God, right?
But I don't believe in God, so your framing of this as if you're speaking to somebody who believes in God is, you know, falling on deaf ears.
Right. I'm trying to understand. Like, you want me to convince you why God exists,
Yeah.
but when I start that conversation, we are both relying on finding his fingerprints in reality, right? That's how we only. That's the only way
Yeah,
we
it's
can.
called evidence.
Yeah, we have. What does evidence for God mean? Like, you want him to
I don't
be
know, it's
sitting,
your claim.
you want him
Presumably
to
you
be
have it.
you want him to be sitting in a throne in Jerusalem,
Nope.
like,
Not what I'm asking
and then
for.
be like, look at that evidence, he's just sitting over there. Do you want him
That's
to
a
be
cool
like
straw
that?
man. No, that's not what I'm asking for.
So no, what I'm saying.
Surely you believe in God because there is some piece of evidence that is compelling to you, or perhaps multiple pieces of evidence that are compelling to you. I'm asking what that evidence is.
No,
And if
you
the
would have
evidence
to
is just
say-
that the universe obeys laws, well, that's a kind of just a several thousand year outdated metaphysics of laws of physics. It's just a, you know, not the way that we understand physics these days.
No, like, you would have to say that if, obviously, in a naturalistic world, if God is communicating his presence with us, how would he do it, right? And how would he communicate his essence with us? And one of the ways he would communicate it is by.
Yeah, if God existed, then perhaps he would make the world this way. But that doesn't mean that God does exist.
Yeah, but that's
It's
the
also
first.
not evidence that God exists if we can explain why the world is this way using other mechanisms.
That's wrong as well, because you can always explain away God, because you can always say, what about this one?
Then God,
That
wait a
doesn't
minute,
need God.
if that's the case, then God should be dismissed on the grounds of Occam's razor. If you can always explain away the features of the world using some sort of naturalistic means, then you should just dismiss the idea of God.
What makes Occam's razor the this thing that dictates if whether God exists or not? Maybe
It's
you
a
need
rule of
more.
thumb.
Maybe you need a more mature understanding, and not just this Occam's razor way of thinking. You need to think about things deeply. Think about how things are organized.
You need to
deeply.
overcomplicate things when you can already explain things from a simpler perspective, is what you're telling me.
No, we don't need to overcomplicate things. Things are very complex.
That's what Occam's razor is suggesting that you don't do. Occam's razor is suggesting that you don't overcomplicate things.
No, well, I'm saying that things are already complex in their in the way that they show themselves, right? Like, if you're looking at water is not just H2O. No. There's a lot of.
Okay, you're getting away from the point. The point is that you and I both agree that there is a natural world, right? There are laws of physics. We call them laws, even though perhaps they're better described as descriptions. There are forces, there are charges, there's mass, there's gravity, there's all of these things. We both agree that these things exist. Now, on top of that... Sorry?
You said some of the things that, like, you said, like, I've never seen physically seen a force in my life. I've never
Do
seen
you think that forces don't exist?
I don't. Where's the force? I've never seen a force. I know what matter is, but like, what is it? What is even a force? That we would have to
A
consider.
force is a phenomenon. It's not an object.
Right, like a force is a force. Exactly. Like we have to conceptualize. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying
No,
is
this is not what
we
you're
would have to-
saying. The point is, and you didn't even let me finish my point. The point is that there is this world that you and I both exist. There's this world that both you and I agree exists. It has like chairs in it, and it has a sun in it, and there's black holes sometimes, and there's these particles, and there's just stuff in our world, and this stuff behaves in certain ways. And I'm saying, well, look, that's plausibly that kind of stuff that you and I both agree exists. That's all the kind of stuff that there is. And it seems like I can explain all of the things that we see in the world with that kind of explanation. But you're saying, well, I agree that that stuff exists, but also I think that there's a God. And your worldview that has all of this regular stuff plus God accounts for exactly as much as my worldview does, but your worldview has an extra God lying around. So you are overcomplicating what is necessary to understand the world.
No, you're the one who's overcomplicating things, because you're just saying like this thing that doesn't even exist in its physical form. You're saying that thing exists. You said a force exists. I've never seen a force. Somebody said in the comments that a magnet exists. I know a field exists because it has a physical phenomena. I know 100%.
The fields are the forces.
Yeah, exactly.
Force
But force. I've never pushed a chair and said that that's a force right there. There you go. I'd never said that. That is a conceptual addition. That is a conceptual addition. There is no physical phenomena such as a
Forces
force.
are the name that we give for interactions between physical objects. That's what a force is defined to be.
Exactly. That is just a concept. It's just a name that we give.
I think we're done here. He did the exactly thing one too many times. Exactly, it's just a name we give. Yeah, we give names to things. We give names to phenomena, and we give names to objects. From Cherry Bomb Games with the $5, it sticks around because that's how it was originally described. Thagomizer has entered the chat. What is a Thagomizer? Oh. I like it. Thagomizers are cool. One sec. Sorry about that. Just gotta make sure that my green screen's not falling off. Okay, let us bring up our next guest. Oh, I know what a Thagomizer is. Oh, I think that TikTok isn't connected, which I'm not seeing TikTok's feed, which is always annoying when that happens. There we go. Okay, I can see it now. And I want to make sure that I didn't miss any super chats besides that one, because okay, I think that could be all. Now I wish I could like sort. I think that we have some subscribers on Twitch, but I don't know how to view that. So I'll figure it out. But if you became a subscriber on Twitch, thank you so much, and I will figure out how to get that stuff going. Okay, let's bring up our next guest. I believe that Freelancer Joe TikTok has been waiting for a good while, so let's bring them up. Freelancer Joe, how's it going?
Can you hear me?
I can. Freelancer Joe, have we spoken before?
All right. So,
Freelancer, have we spoken
I was
before?
interested. Huh?
Have we spoken before?
No.
Okay.
We just met.
Okay, so Freelancer, do you believe in a god? Oh, he left. Okay. Let's talk to Cora.
Hello? Can you
Cora,
hear
how's
me?
it going? I can.
Hi. So I'm not necessarily like a believer of God, but my
When you're off the app, I
like
can't hear
kind
you.
of. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm more or less like trying to figure out for like confirmation to like why you don't believe in a god,
Mhm.
because I have been looking into like more scientific reasonings to disprove God and religion and stuff, but I'm still like willing to hear like another person's side on things, if that's okay.
I mean, look, so there's a lot of different gods that I don't believe in.
Yeah.
Like the Christian God is I don't believe in, because if the Christian God is real, then we have good reason to think that the Christian Bible is true. And if the Christian Bible is true, then we both A, need to believe that a global flood happened, and B, we need to believe that a few dozen to a few hundred zombies wandered around ancient Jerusalem and nobody wrote it down except Mark. And both those things seem absolutely absurd to me. They seem far less plausible than the alternative, namely that people wrote these things down because they were myths and legends, which kind of just rules out the Christian God in my view. Now, as far as like a more general creator God, I think that probably runs into problems of like essentially time problems and body problems. So.
Yeah.
The way that I think of what a creator god would be something like some being that is responsible for creating or being the foundation of all of reality. And reality, as far as we can tell, includes time, it includes space. And yet, supposedly, this thing being the creator, being the ground of it, should be independent of those things. And so, I don't know what it would mean for a mind to exist outside of time. I don't know what it would mean for a mind to exist without a body, and you couldn't have a body if you don't have a location, if you're not in space. So it just seems like that we're positing something that, at least according to all of the intuitions that we have, all the 8 billion people on the planet, is not possible. Namely, minds are attached to bodies, and minds are phenomena that exist in time.
Yeah,
and so that
'cause
seems like that at least inductively
sorry.
rules out some sort of ultimate creator being, even if it's not related to Christianity.
Yeah, I read like a book that Stephen Hawking's co-wrote, and it basically was like God couldn't exist before the Big Bang because time necessarily didn't exist before it, as far as we know. So there was no time for God to create anything or
Yeah,
exist.
that's roughly it. Yeah, it's not even clear if God could even have a mind if there's no time. Like,
yeah,
a mind has a few different features. Minds know things, right? But minds also do things. They think, right? And so I could imagine that you could have a timeless thing that knows things. We might call it a book. Imagine like a timeless book. But the other feature of minds is that they have thoughts. They have like they process, right? And that seems like a thing that requires time. So yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
roughly the reason that this seems so very counterintuitive to me. But Cora, I'm gonna let you go so I can bring up some opposition. But thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
no, that's fine. Thank you for everything.
Of course. All right. Let us double check. Okay, so let us. We have some guests in Discord, so let's bring up. I think Talk True was up first. Talk True, you're on the live. Gotta unmute yourself though. All right, Talk True, feel free to come back at a later date. Let's bring up Temple Lion Studios. Temple Lion Studios, you're on.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm not Talk True, just for the record, but
I know, you're Temple Lion Studios. I'm aware. So, Temple Lion, do you believe in a god?
yeah, I mean, I don't use the word God necessarily. I would maybe call it one infinite creator or something like that. But I believe in that something intelligent created the universe.
Do you think that that something intelligent is the grounds for all of physical reality, or just like our universe?
That's a hard question to answer. I mean, possibly there are multiple universes. So I'm not sure about that.
Okay, the only reason I ask is because, like, you know, I don't think that the universe is a simulation, but like, suppose that it was. Well, then the entity that created our universe could have just been like a guy in a basement, and I don't think
Yeah.
that thing would, you know, be reasonably called a god, right?
Yeah, I get that point. One question that I wanted to ask you is if you've looked into near-death experiences.
Mildly,
And also,
even if near-death experiences are true, which I'm not convinced that they are, it doesn't mean that a god exists.
no, I get that, but do you believe in reincarnation?
No.
Okay, so
I also don't think that near-death experiences are pointing at anything true about the world. I think that there's something that happens in the mind, in the brain, if you will.
how would you answer that across cultures and religion and whatever, like nationality, people usually describe the same phenomena in near-death experiences?
They describe some of the same qualitative stuff, like bright lights and warm feelings, but that seems pretty well accounted for by the fact that we have the same brains, or, you know, at least similar brains, because we're all humans. So if the near-death experience is really what happens during the process where your brain starts to shut down, and if we all have similar brains, then the shutdown process will be the same, or at least similar, for all of us.
Well, can we agree at least that that's an assumption that it is something that happens in the brain? Because, I mean, on the other
Well, it's a
hand,
proposed explanation. I'm not assuming it's true. It could be that
Yeah.
reincarnation is real. I just don't believe in it. I would need a good reason.
yeah, I think for me, well, I had a near-death experience myself, but I'm also open to that. It wasn't, that it could be something that my brain uh, made me experience. Um, but I also find it interesting that it's hard to differentiate between earthly experience, like when we are awake, and then from this experience that I had, like what makes me sure that this reality is real and that what I'd experienced in the near-death experience wasn't real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, during your near-death experience, okay, so do you wear a watch?
Sorry, what?
Do you wear a watch, like on your wrist?
No.
Okay, so what I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but from what I've heard, one of the ways that you can tell if you're in a dream, for example, not a near-death experience, but one of the ways that you can tell if you're in a dream is if you look at your watch and it doesn't make sense.
Uh-huh.
Because the way that we think about, and you know, this is a plausible explanation for why that's the case. It's because, like, when we're dreaming, we're not actually simulating the entire world. What we're doing is that we're simulating sensations, basically, and then our brain kind of stitches those sensations together into a story. But the watch is not a specific sensation that, like, our brain knows how to deal with. It's just something that we kind of learned. That's why you have to learn how to read a watch. And so plausibly, if during a near-death experience you looked at your watch and it didn't make sense, you would know it's not real. You would know that it's your brain failing.
Well, from what I experienced myself and what others also experience, you don't really have a body. You're more like just consciousness floating. Some people describe.
Okay, then look at the clock on the wall.
Well, that is something like there's a lot of stories of people on operating tables who can see, like, on top of closets in
Right,
the
no, I'm
hospital.
talking specifically about a clock on the wall. And the reason I'm talking about clocks is because they are the kinds of things that our brains are really not good at simulating.
Oh, okay. So
So
what
if
you
the
want to
clock
know
on the
is
wall
if
didn't
someone
make sense, then you'd have a reason to think that it's something happening in your brain.
So what you want to know is if someone in a near-death experience could look at a clock.
Yeah, and then see if it, like, see if it looked the way a clock should.
Yeah, that's interesting. Another question I had was if you ever tried DMT.
Nope.
Because there's some super, like, I would look into that if you want to get closer to maybe afterlife. I know afterlife is not proof of a god, but it kind of like moves toward the concept in a way.
So I don't think that anything that you can do, I don't think that any substance that you can take is going to be a particularly useful way of learning about the way the world actually is. Because if you take a substance, then we know for a fact that you are distorting, you are changing something in your brain, which is going to make your, which, you know, in some sense, should lead you to conclude that whatever you experience during that period of time should not be trusted, because you're messing with the way that you experience.
I get your perspective, but what we say about a prism, that's also something that you add to light, and it distorts the light in a way so we can see a rainbow. It doesn't make the rainbow fake or false. It just reveals a new perspective.
So, look, I think that probably what's true is that you can learn a lot about yourself while on psychotropic substances, because what you're learning is the way that you can experience, right? Mm-hmm. And you could also learn about relationships, for example, because you can have actual relationships and have conversations while still under the influence, right? But I don't think that that's going to tell you some fact about the external world, when we know these psychotropic compounds are going to mess with the way that your brain interprets the data from the outside world.
Yeah, unless you see it in a way that distorting your mind or your experience can make you perceive things that you aren't normally aware of. Or
so then we should be able to detect those things without psychotropic compounds. And the reason I say that is because, look, the psychotropic compounds aren't changing the ways our eyes behave. They're changing the ways our brains behave. And so we know what eyes do. We know how eyes respond to, you know, stimuli. We know what the rods and the cones do. We can build things that simulate eyeballs. These are called cameras. So if there was some new feature of the world that we were somehow detecting while under the influence of these psychotropic compounds, we should be able to detect it with instruments while not under the influence of the psychotropic compound.
Yeah, I get that. That's a nice way to look at it. I mean, maybe there are instruments that can detect stuff like this.
Apparently not.
Well,
the
I
things
mean, like,
that you hallucinate?
Maybe we just don't know how to read the data. It can be anomalies in also, like, it's a pretty abstract thing to perceive, and because a camera we can easily compare it to our eyes, but it's harder when it's altered states of consciousness. Like,
but the altered
wouldn't
states
know
of
what to
consciousness are
start
things
building
internal. They're not telling you anything about anything external.
Well, how about people who can like telepathy and things that have been proven to be, like, we don't know
Sure.
exactly how it works, but
So I'm not convinced that it's
concept.
real, but suppose it is. What does that have to do with an afterlife?
Well, to me, it was similar. My near-death experience was very similar to what I've seen on DMT, for example.
What does DMT have to do with telepathy?
Well, how I see the DMT world is that you kind of, because it feels more real than this reality does.
Okay.
Like, things are more crisp and more like it's
what
like
does that have to
going
do with
from
telepathy?
Well, it's just the realm of other possibilities, and
It seems like you're just connecting things that are like kind of fringe, even though they're not really related at all.
Well, I compared because I've been able to use telepathy in meditation, for example, and meditation is also a state where you
Has it been
produce DMT.
experimentally confirmed that you were able to do telepathy?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Where's the study?
I think there's plenty of studies. I haven't made like a scientific study myself, but I've tested it with
not plenty
friends
of studies. I mean you. Okay, so I just have to believe you.
I know that's a big like claim, but you can try experimenting with yourself, like with your friends, or you can, if you
I'm good.
if you
I don't need
meditate
to
for
take
a
DMT.
year.
I'm good.
No, but just meditating, like meditating for a year will get you really far
Okay.
in like that's something I would, if you're really curious about if this is a real thing, I would definitely try meditating like every
It's not
day
a
for a year. It could
particularly
be-
interesting topic for me, to be honest.
Okay, that's fair.
So it just doesn't seem like this is related to an afterlife, nor does it seem like it's related to God existing.
For me, it's very connected. Like the state I was in my near-death experience, because near-death experience is the closest we have to perceiving an afterlife. If it's like, it can still be some, like your point that it's something that just happens in the brain, but that's also just a claim
So
as much as it is that.
Okay, so would it be plausible to say that the near-death experience, the same thing that happens in a near-death experience, or a similar thing that happens in a near-death experience, is what's happening to your brain when you take DMT? And then separately, telepathy is real, but is unrelated to the afterlife. It's just some physical thing that we haven't encountered yet, we haven't described. And then there's no afterlife, there's no God. We can account for all of the data.
You probably know this, but your brain produces DMT or releases
I'm
DMT
aware.
when.
That's why I compared them. So the explanation that I provided, what's wrong with that explanation?
I'm not sure I got your explanation.
The explanation is that the same thing that happens during a near-death experience is also happening to your brain, when you take DMT. And then separately, telepathy is real, we just don't know what it is, and it's some physical thing that we haven't described yet.
And it's also connected.
Why is that not a
DMT.
perfectly good explanation?
Well, telepathy is also connected to DMT. Like when participants in an experiment succeeds at telepathy, they produce DMT as well.
Okay, what's the source for that?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'd had to look that up. I'll gladly try to find some.
You didn't just make it up, did you?
No, I just
okay,
don't know.
So
how
then
to
where'd you get
it.
the idea from?
I've like read tons of books about it and watched tons of documentaries. And
okay,
also
any scientific studies that you've looked at?
I think the best one you can do is do it yourself.
Okay, that'll be a no.
Well, I had to look it up. I'll gladly post it in the chat if I find something.
All right. Well, in the meantime, thanks for being here, Temple Lion. Take care. I can only do that for so long. If I had to summarize that, it would be DMT convinced me that the afterlife is real and that I'm telepathic. All right, from Mika Makapo with the 10 pounds. Hi, Blitz. We learn from God. Hi, Blitz. We learn from God is from everlasting to everlasting, which made me think, what if he never wanted the job as God? How could he refuse? Doesn't sound like free will. What do clever people say? They don't. The free will argument is a good argument, and it's, thank you for the fireworks, Mineralogi. The free will argument is a good argument, and it's not clear how God has free will and how that free will is explained. Is it just like a brute fact? It's not clear. All right, we have a bunch of guests in the guest box, so let's get started, or not get started. Let's continue. We have Daily Sage. Daily Sage, how's it going?
Hello. Yeah, what? I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Daily Sage, do you believe in God?
Yes, I would say so. I'm no, but not with like high certainty.
Okay, and so what God is it that you believe in, and why should I believe in it?
So it's not any specific God. Like it's not any like Christian
Surely
God
it has
or Muslim God
properties, so you can just tell me what the properties are.
Yeah, I would just say I believe in simply just a creator of the universe that you know.
Okay, why should I believe that such a thing exists?
Yeah, so I guess here I would just you're probably already familiar with this, so I would just get your thoughts on it, like psychophysical harmony. I'm guessing you know about that.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that the psychological, or that the, what are they called? Are they called the psychological laws? Well, there's the psychophysical harmony is that is something that that the psychological laws are in some sense aligned with the physical laws, right?
Yes.
So my contention is merely that the psychological laws are physical, and so it's then wholly expected that they would be aligned.
Can you elaborate? I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
I take it that minds are physical things, that they're emergent from physical phenomena. And so if that's the case, then we would expect that those physical phenomena would, like that there would be an alignment between the underlying physical laws and the psychological laws that arise from those physical laws. It seems like that the argument from psychophysical harmony only works if people think that the mental states, or that, you know, mental laws or psychological laws are in some way not related to the physical laws.
So you would just you're like a physicalist then?
Of some kind, yeah.
Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yes, in that case, there is some like more work to be done. But in that case, I would just ask you, like, I mean, you probably know about the different kinds of. You're probably familiar with the modality, right? The different kinds of modality.
Yeah.
Like yes. Okay. So I'm guessing, like, since you're a physicalist, you wouldn't say that like being, or not a being, like a human that has, you know, avoidance behavior, but not like does not have any phenomenal states. Like, you wouldn't say that's metaphysically possible, I'm guessing.
Does not have, did you say does not have mental states?
No, like how do I say this? Like,
so they have avoidance behavior, but they don't have mental states. Is that the claim? Are you asking if I think that P-zombies can exist?
yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, so generally, I'm not even convinced that like a P-zombie is a thing that like conceptually makes sense. So I guess yes. I guess to answer your question, I would say that that's not even like. It's probably a, in my view, it's probably like a contradiction in terms.
Okay, so yeah, so here's
Like a jumbo Shrek.
Yeah, then, like, so would you also deny that it's like epistemically possible?
Oh, I mean, plenty of stuff is epistemically possible.
Okay, so you would say that a P-zombie is epistemically possible?
Yeah, but like, so is a square circle if you're a dumbass, right? Like, plenty of stuff are epistemically possible.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily agree to that. Like, I don't think you can say a square circle is epistemically possible. That
okay, so probably not, because if you know what the words mean, then it's probably not epistemically possible. But like, we could say something like, you know, it's epistemically possible for a dumbass that pi is 4, right?
Yes, I agree with that. Yes, that is true.
And so like, but like, it's still it would still be a, you know, we would probably want to say it's like a mathematical contradiction to say that pi is 4. And so it's not possible that pi is 4 mathematically, even though it's epistemically possible. So, I mean, yeah, sure, like, P-zombies are epistemically possible, but that doesn't really speak to whether or not they're metaphysically possible.
But yes, I think this analogy there is that, you know, you talked about.
You were saying?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I can hear you.
I think. Yeah, you were talking, so I just yeah. So this analogy, I think there is that, you know, you were saying it's epistemically possible that some dumb person thinks that, you know, I forgot your example, that pi is like 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, epistemic possibility relies on like the understanding of the person who's doing the, you know, who's doing the conceptualizing, right? And so like, the less you know, the more is epistemically possible.
Yes, but what I would like, what I think the problem there is that, you know, you said that it's epistemically possible a person believes this, but
no, sorry,
you know,
sorry, that if that's what you understood, then I wasn't clear. What I mean is that it's possible that someone, or what I mean is that like, you and I can conceptualize an example of just like a dumb person who just doesn't know what pi is, and then if you asked them, is it epistemically possible that pi is 4? They would say yeah.
So in that case, I'm not. Well, okay. I guess the problem there then would just be that that person just, or I guess, like they would just be wrong in saying it's epistemically possible.
Well,
I would say
a thing being epistemically possible is not the same as it being metaphysically or mathematically or logically or physically possible, right? Epistemically possible is just like, given what you know, could such a thing be real? And if somebody doesn't know much, then lots of things could be real to them. Lots of things could be possible, if you will.
yes, but like wouldn't it be like wrong to say in a case that like wouldn't it be ill-formed, because when we ask that person like is it epistemic possible that pi equals 4, like if that person is understanding pi in a different way, then like does that really make sense in that case? Like I'm not really sure.
Well, look, it's just because they just don't know, right?
I mean, what I'm trying to say is that like they have, if they have a different concept of pi, right?
If they have I'm not saying that they have a different concept of pi in this hypothetical. It's that they don't even know what pi is supposed to mean. They just know that it's a number. They don't even know what it refers to. They're just like, oh, there's this number pi. Could it be 4? I guess.
Okay, yeah. In that case, like,
because they don't know much.
Yeah,
in the same way that, like, look, I don't know everything. So, like, can I, like, conceptualize? Can I consider that I'm wrong and that indeed P-zombies are possible? Sure, I guess. Hence why it's epistemically possible. I don't think it's metaphysically possible, though.
Okay, yes. Yeah, that's where I would like take. That's where I would take the discussion. Then is like, if you allow epistemic possibility, then like we could use that as well. Like if you allow epistemically possible worlds.
I don't think that epistemic possibility points to worlds at all.
No, not worlds. I don't mean like there are worlds that exist out there. I'm just saying, like, if you allow,
like, you can conceptualize. I mean, so I take epistemic possibility to be something like, can you conceptualize it? Like, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's something similar to it. And, like, it's just not clear to me. In fact, it's actually, it seems quite obvious to me that being able to conceptualize something and something actually being truly possible, whether in the metaphysical sense or in the mathematical sense or in the logical sense or in the physical sense, those things are completely distinct, or at least, don't have to be related to each other whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. So in that case, then I guess the main point of contention would just be your philosophy of mind, like your view on that, like physicalism. I guess that's where the main contention would be. If yeah, we would have to discuss that, and then maybe if somehow like you change your position, maybe then you would also update on like psychophysical harmony. But
Possibly,
actually,
yeah.
actually I was wondering about that. Like, if you were like, what would your like, what would you say about psychophysical harmony if you were like a mind-body dualist, for example?
Well, I don't know, because mind-body dualism seems like completely irrational to me. So I don't know what my point of view would have to be in order to adopt that perspective.
Okay.
So, like,
okay,
I mean, I could just make stuff up and say random words, but I don't know if that would be a true representation of the way that I would address this if I actually were that way, because, you know, it's hard to put myself in those shoes.
Yeah. Okay. Is it okay if I bring up like one argument for mind-body dualism and like get your thoughts on it, like
Sure.
what you think of it? Yeah. So it would be the model argument for the immateriality of mind. Basically, it would be something like this: that either our minds are, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not. Either our minds are material or they're immaterial. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Since and maybe this would be where you would disagree. Would you say it's possible that our minds exist? Actually, yeah. Would you say it's possible our minds exist without a body, like
What kind of
in
possibility are
some
we
way?
talking about here?
I would say, well, I guess you wouldn't say it's metaphysically possible, right?
Yeah. To be
Yeah,
clear,
so
I'm not even sure what metaphysical possibility is supposed to be pointing at. It seems like it's supposed to be some kind of like somewhere between logical possibility and physical possibility. And I'm not quite sure what that is, but I would say that, like, sure, it's logically possible. I would say that it doesn't seem physically possible. And I would think that I don't think that there is a way that the world can be where that would be the case.
yeah, so yeah, I guess it would just be like about logical. It would be using logical modality here instead.
Okay, then I'm fine.
metaphysical.
There's no intrinsic contradiction, I think, and like there's no analytic falsity or analytic contradiction in minds being immaterial.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, then the argument would just proceed with like if it's possible, or if it's logically possible that that there is a world where minds are or minds exist without any bodies. Sorry, then somehow, like, actually, where was I going? Yeah, basically it would be I forgot the argument. I'm sorry. It's what was it? I'm blanking on the argument. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm blanking. It's David Pullman. If you're familiar with David Pullman,
I'm not.
he makes this argument.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I'm just blanking on the argument. But he would just basically argue that the modality, or if it's possible, then he would say that the mind is essentially immaterial. That's where he would go. But I'm blanking on the.
Is it Philip Pullman?
No, it's David Pullman.
How do you spell the last name? Is it David Chalmers?
No. Pullman. Pallman.
Okay. I'm just looking to see if I can find it. I'm just seeing a whole bunch of Facebook posts.
No. He's on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. It's called Faith Because of Reason.
Okay, so there's no like papers I can read that would go over this argument.
I'm not actually sure if there is a paper on it. Maybe there is, but I do know that David does defend this argument.
Okay, I don't know who that. Well, like, I don't know who that is. I've never seen that YouTube channel, so I can't comment.
Yeah, no worries. One last thing I want to ask you. Then
I think
I want
think
to.
you did say that the argument for mind-body dualism was going to be the last thing.
I'm not. I don't remember.
You did.
If I said that.
So I'm gonna let you go, Daily
Yeah.
Sage. But thanks for being here. All right. We have no super chats to read. What a world. Apparently you guys hate me. No, I'm kidding. All right. Freelancer Joe, he was here and then he disconnected, so let's bring him back up. Okay, Freelancer Joe is still not here. All right, let's bring up Freelancer Joe again. Let's try it again. Freelancer Joe, how's it going?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Freelancer Joe, do you believe in God?
Yes, I do.
All right, and which God would that be? I don't want to make any wrong assumptions. When you're off the app, I can't hear you. Freelancer Joe? Freelancer Joe? Okay. From Glitterlock with the $5, we don't hate you, we loathe you. Fair point. That's fair play. All right, let's bring up FR. Close enough to Freelancer Joe, right? FR, how's it going?
Yo.
All right, FR, do you believe in a God?
I don't. Okay, so I don't believe in necessarily like a specific God, like not a Greek God, not like Jesus, but I do think it's fair to believe in a higher power.
Okay. Why should I believe in a higher power?
So I've got a couple points. But I won't take up too much time. But my reasoning is that the universe like didn't have to exist. So not
FR, quick
like
question. How old are you?
18.
What year were you born?
Pardon?
What year were you born?
2007. My argument is that the
I
universe
feel like I'm
didn't
being
have
lied to. Chat.
No. Just let me get my argument.
What year did you graduate?
Pardon?
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in summer of 2025.
Then you shouldn't be 18.
No, I was a year ahead of school. Hence why I'm debating people.
Sorry, FR. I don't think that we can do it. Seems like he was gonna have an interesting argument, but you know, there are far too many people who are just on the cusp, and I don't buy it. Mirzon, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Mirzon, do you believe in a God?
Yeah, I do.
All right, and which God would that be?
Okay, yeah. It's Allah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
So
but
why
it's
should I
not
believe in
about
that
the
God?
It's actually like, yeah. So a simple argument that like, do you think humans created everything, which like universe or everything going on in the world? Do you think human created it?
Do I think humans created everything in the universe?
Like, yeah. Like
no.
Whatever the like. No. Right. Okay. So who do you think it created?
I don't think that some things were created.
Okay, it was existing like that from before?
Yeah. Or in some other way.
All right. So the glasses you're wearing right now, do you think someone made them or they just came upon you?
I didn't know we were doing a white belt.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Did someone made it?
Yes, obviously.
The glasses you're wearing, obviously, right. So have you seen the person who made it? No. Probably.
That made my glasses? Well, I guess I saw them put the lens in, but I didn't see them make the glasses.
Not the one who... Right, yeah. So the brain you're using right now, is it more complex than the glasses you have?
Sure.
So how come you think it's not?
I mean, at least for me,
someone?
I don't know about everybody in this conversation, but go on.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So how do you think what's more complex, your brain or the glasses?
My brain. Definitely my brain is.
Right. So shouldn't we think that the brain was also created by someone?
No. Why should we?
How come? How come? If your glasses are created by someone, the AirPods you're using, you haven't seen someone,
Yep.
the one who created
Yep, my
them.
glasses are not a brain. My AirPods are not a brain.
Not a brain, but they're the things in the universe.
Yeah, so
Your
there are
brain
lots of things
is-
in the universe. Some of them are created by people and some of them aren't.
Exactly. So humans are created by God, and
I
other
don't think
things
that humans are
some of
created,
the things are
period.
created by God. All right. Okay. So you don't think humans are created?
Yeah, at least
Then
not in like the
how
traditional sense of the
come
word.
universe? All right. Okay. So okay. Let me just ask you about that. Like, let me tell you about the God only. Like, are you talking to someone?
I was trying to get my cat's attention. You're good. Go ahead, continue.
All right. Okay. So my argument is that if God, like we call it God, we name it different things. Do you think human created the universe, black hole, or whatever exists in the
You already
whole
asked me
universe?
that.
Do you think?
Did you just like reset or?
No, I'm just going through like stepwise. Again, I need to ask that because I went
I
to
already
another
answered it.
direction. So you said no, right?
Obviously, yeah.
Okay, humans did not created it. Who
Yeah.
you think created it?
I don't think anybody did.
Like, of course, everything is created.
Prove it.
Everything in the world is created.
Prove it.
That's what I'm trying to. I just proved it. Your
You just
brain.
proved it. Look at your AirPods. Look at your glasses. That means everything
Yeah,
in the universe
so-
is created. No, you gave me examples of like 2 things that are created, and then you
What was
assumed
the
that
thing
everything is created. Those 2 things are not related.
Okay, a kid in a mom's belly is also created. How do you think it comes out from like a childhood? A woman is born.
Well,
then
so you could
she gets to give
argue.
a birth to someone.
You could argue that a child is created by that child's parents. That's something that
Right,
you could
so-
argue.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
probably not in the way that you would like it to be created, because it's not like some intentional created from nothing. It's like the parents decided to like have unprotected sex, and then the mother had to eat a whole bunch of extra food to like assemble a fetus from scratch. Like, that's probably not what you mean when you say created.
No, like a kid is created in the belly. Do mom and dad have?
Okay, but
the
it's not
power to
created in the
decide
same
it's
way
gonna
that
be
you
a
think the
guy?
universe was created.
But let's go towards humans first, then we go towards universe. Like, let's not get all into it. Let's just go towards the humans, how humans are created, and then go towards the universe.
You need me
Why
to
don't we
teach you how
just
humans
go
are
one by
created?
one? No, I want you to teach like humans are created by someone, not like they're
Yeah,
just
by their
downloading
parents.
from like Siddharth.
When a mommy
Right, by the
loves
parents.
a daddy, and also the
Right.
daddy loves the mommy,
Right.
usually it should be consensual. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be, but that's no good. When it is consensual,
Okay.
then they both hug each other very tight, often horizontally,
You don't have to-
and then 9 months later, a stork brings a baby. Like,
Okay.
you want the explanation?
No, I don't want the whole explanation, but you did quite well for the people to understand. All right. So, what my point is that like the parents have the power to decide it's gonna be a boy or a girl? Like,
Nope.
some of them.
The stork
no,
decides.
Right? So exactly. So why don't we believe that they are created by someone, and mom dads were also created by someone already? And it
Well,
was
look, if
God
the baby
whose
is
will it
created by
was
the
to-
parents, then sure, in that way, their parents were created by their parents, and their parents were created by their parents, and that goes all the way back to the origin of life.
How was the first human created then?
I don't think there was a first human.
Okay, you think everyone came at once?
No, well, I mean, kind of. It was more of a gradual process. There's not like some black and white dividing line where here's where the first human was born, and before that there were no humans. It was more of like a whole population change over time.
So how do you think the world, that population you said came, like, started? What's your
Yeah,
definition
I mean,
for that?
like, So I'm not a biologist or a chemist, but I'm going to say chemistry gave rise to the first life. Keep
So
talking, I can hear
chemistry
you. I just
gave,
have to go
like,
grab something.
what- All right. So you think like two chemical mixed and a bunch of population came in the world?
I think that probably the very first life was bacterial in origin or something like it.
Mm-hmm. And how was that bacterial life? You think bacteria
I think it came
got
from
some
chemistry.
life, right?
I think it arose via some sort of chemical process.
Chemical process, and human came through that? Do you have
Yeah, and then we
chemicals in your
evolved.
body?
Yeah, we have chemicals in our body. You're made of chemicals. I don't know if you knew that,
Alright.
but
For sure. Like, I haven't seen this argument of chemicals by any atheist person right now, but
do you know
that's
what
your
chemicals
argument.
are?
Fair enough. Right. Yeah, for sure. I know what
Okay, so
chemicals
you
are.
understand
But
that you're
okay.
made of chemicals, right?
Yeah, we do have some chemicals in our
No,
body. not
your entire
everything
body is
in our
made of
body.
chemicals.
No, it's not.
It is. Can you give me an example of something in your body that's not a chemical?
Okay, that's a whole different conversation. Here, the point is, like, as you're mentioned in the description, can you convince me to God? We're not
Yep.
going in towards chemicals and body, right? So, okay.
Well, I mean, you brought it
So
up, or
my
you wanted
question
me to
is-
bring it up.
No, I was just asking, and you told me like the mixture of chemicals, and then we evaluate and everything came up with that. All right. So my point is that like people, like what my argument is, it's very simple that humans in the world right now, there are some things that humans cannot create.
Yep, I
That's
agree.
beyond humans' power, right? Like humans cannot reach outside the black hole or stuff like that. For example, I'm saying, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
there are certain powers that human cannot, but there is someone who can and who created it.
I don't think that there is a who that's involved.
Then, okay, there's no one.
Yeah, I don't think that there was anybody involved with creating black holes or creating stars or galaxies or atoms or molecules. I don't think anybody was involved in that.
Okay, so they are existing there from long time, only there. They
Well,
were like
some of them.
already created.
Some of them may have
Do you think
existed
that
forever. Some of them may have not. The universe may or may not have a beginning.
Then it started to begin. That means
If the
begin
universe had a
created.
beginning, then yeah, there was a first moment of time.
Yeah, that means they were created. Everything that begins, that starts, that means it's created. Then it
Well,
starts,
no, there
right?
could be a first moment of time without it having been created.
First moment
But
of
that's
time.
gonna be
exactly
that's gonna
means
be
that
hard for you.
The time when the thing is created.
Well, no, I mean you could have a free space-time geometric structure.
Whatsoever it is, but it still is created. We name it as created. You
Well,
named
no,
it as
so that thing
first
would have
time
never been
only.
created. No.
No, you named it as first time. I name it as created.
Well, no, there's a first moment of time doesn't mean that nothing existed before it.
But first moment of time for a specific thing means it is created for the first time.
No, it doesn't mean that. You can
It
have a
does that.
timeless state of affairs that give rise to a timeful state of affairs. But look, I can just assure you that given the conversation that we've had for the last, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, the conversation about a timeless universe giving rise to a timeful universe is probably going to go over your head. So we probably shouldn't go down that rabbit hole.
Okay, I'm just saying that, like, someone, you name it as the first time, I name it as created, all right? So, humans did not created the universe, neither does, like, no human created a universe or Earth or any planet in the universe, right? Not humans.
I've answered that question now twice.
All right,
I
yeah.
don't know why you keep
So
asking
no
it.
humans. Okay, no humans, but someone did. So we name it.
I don't
as
think
God.
someone
People
did.
name it. Different religions name it as a different.
I don't think
name.
that anybody
Some
did.
says
I don't think
Jesus.
I don't think it was a being that did this.
It's not being.
I've now been over this like several times.
Okay, so you're just saying that everything existed from before, like from very beginning. There's no created. They were not created. Nothing happens.
Yeah, let's say that that's what I'm saying. Sure.
Okay, that's like really not getting into my mind. What made you think that?
Well, I don't think
That
that.
everything
You said
existed
that I
from
think
before.
that, and I just agreed with you
You
because you
so
weren't getting the
you
point.
agreed with me that I get your point. You're just saying I just explained in the simple words what you said.
Look, sir, so there are two options. One option where there's a first moment of time, and another option where there's not a first moment of time. In neither case do I think that there is a creation.
So you think everything had a first moment of time and that's it?
Nope, that's also not what I said. Like, I said there's either a first moment of time or there's not a first moment of time.
Okay, I get your point. Like you said about the universe. You said it was the first moment of time for the universe or for the earth or something.
Or the
And
universe
then
doesn't
what's
have a first moment of time.
Okay, that's your argument for that. What do you think of the things like in the universe or outside the universe that doesn't have the first moment of time? They're just there for a long time. They ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
What are your examples for that?
Electrons. Or rather, the electron field.
Electron. Okay, electrons. You said they are like from there for a long time,
Yep.
and they were not created.
Well, the electron. We don't have any reason to think that the electron field has ever been created, or was ever created.
Okay, so you think nothing was created, everything was just like that?
No, I didn't say nothing. I said that it is possible that at least some things did not have a beginning.
Yeah, they had some first moment of time, you said.
No, they did not have a beginning. Right.
Yeah.
The electron field might be an example of the kind of thing that doesn't have a beginning.
Yeah, so how come the universe is created, but the things inside it are getting like first moment of time, like humans, like the water?
Hold on,
like...
who said that the universe is created?
I'm not saying created. As per your argument, you said that it had the first moment of time or it didn't. So
Yeah.
we came in the universe, right?
Yep.
And
We have
you
a
got the
beginning.
universe as well. All right. All right. We have a beginning. We have first
Mhm.
moment of time. We are born and everything. So how come, like, who have the power to decide in the universe I'm talking about that we live on Earth, we breathe air, and the fish, a species inside the water,
Nobody
they breathe in
decided
water,
that.
but we cannot.
Nobody decided that.
Nobody decided that.
Planets,
How come
stars,
nobody
galaxies
decided that?
formed
Why
via natural
Why can't
processes,
we?
and some of
why
these
can't we
planets are suitable for life.
Why can't we breathe inside water, but the species inside cannot
Because we
breathe
don't have
outside?
gills.
Okay, we don't have gills, but okay, we don't have gills, right? So who decided we can't have gills?
It wasn't a who.
Okay,
Why do you keep assuming that there was a who?
Why? Okay, okay, let's not assume who. Then why don't I have wings to just fly?
Why don't you have wings?
lungs?
Because you are descended
Yeah,
from
to fly.
primates. Primates didn't evolve wings.
Okay, so why can't I breathe in water?
Because
I
you
don't
are
have
descended
lungs?
from land animals. Land animals don't breathe water, don't have gills.
Okay, how does that got decided that they won't have lungs? The humans gonna breathe.
There was no
air
decision.
and
There was no decision. There is a way
come
that
everything
there is a
evolved?
way that things evolved. The process of evolution takes in essentially noise from the environment and converts it into local minima, or we should say local maxima of the fitting function. So there's no decision maker. It's a process that takes noise from the environment and converts it into effective survival mechanisms.
Okay, so does that continue? Then why do we die? Where do we go?
How is that related to the question? Oh.
It's related to the question. I'm talking about the
We
whole
die
circle
because
going on.
we
but
die
we
because
we get born, then we die.
Yeah.
So the whole circle will live, we breathe, we die. All right.
Yeah, we
So
do
how
die.
come-
Yeah, we die because
So we
sometimes
don't
when
have-
you like, sometimes when you
No,
like throw a
how come-
spear through somebody's heart, their heart stops. Like, we die because sometimes when like a
No,
rock falls on your head, your
bro.
brain stops.
No,
Like that's
you're-
just.
I know, of course, I know that's the way we die. I know that, but I'm like, who decides? Who decide everything?
Nobody decides.
That's the
That's just how our
question.
bodies work. Our bodies rely on
Our
certain
bodies-
functions in order to continue to exist and in order to maintain homeostasis. And sometimes those processes fail because of natural reasons. Sometimes they fail because of non-natural reasons, like somebody, firing a crossbow bolt through your eyeball, like what it feels like is happening right now.
I know. All right. No, the thing is that I believe that there is someone who created, because everything have a reason, everything have a specific reason, or we humans came to the earth with the reason that we're gonna live, and a specific time for us to die whenever we get our eye plucked out, or we just get something in our heart or whatsoever. But we have a time, specific time to die. It's similar to the exam hall we're sitting in, and we are writing the exam, and in the end we're gonna get to a conclusion. So that's it.
But who decides that you get an A on the exam?
God, at the end, when you die.
God wait, no, on the exam that you take in school. God decides?
About what?
About how
the
well you
exam?
do
No,
on the test.
How well? Yeah, exactly. You're getting there. That's my
Yeah,
point.
who decides? Who
I just
decides
gave
how well you do on the
exam-
test?
The principal. And
The
in
principal
human
decides?
case, the principal is God.
So the principal the principal can just like give you an F even if you pass the test?
No, he cannot.
Oh,
It
okay, so
depends
then he
upon
doesn't
how you did in the
decide.
test. He decides how you did in the test. He decides.
No, he doesn't, because he can't give you an F if you pass the test.
After looking at your test, how you did it in.
So he's
like,
not
if
deciding,
you
the test
did
is
well-
deciding.
Yeah, the test is deciding. The
Oh,
test
but the
is
test
thing
isn't a
which you did.
who.
No, you're not getting the point. The test, in my example, is the life you're living in. And
I
that's
know
what
the
you
analogy.
do, good deeds or the
I
bad ones.
I understand
Yeah?
the analogy. I understand. I promise.
Yeah, thank you. So that's like exactly my point. The test is the life you're living. What you do in it, good or bad, the God decides you're going to hell or heaven.
Okay, well, I
That's
don't believe
simple
in
as
that
that.
God, so I don't know why you're telling me this.
Because I'm telling you, because everything have a purpose in life.
Just a quick question. Did the Holocaust have a purpose?
No.
I thought you said everything has a purpose in life.
In life, everything have a purpose.
But the Holocaust
like,
doesn't have a
we-
purpose. So it sounds like you're telling me that the Holocaust is not a thing in life. You're telling me that the Holocaust didn't happen?
No, it did. It had a purpose. Wait, I need
Wait,
to know about
Okay, so
that,
what was the
'cause I'm not
what was the
aware
purpose of
it
the
a lot.
Holocaust?
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, how do you know it
Can
has
you
a
tell me
purpose
about
then?
that? What? No, I don't know what the word you're saying. What's that?
Between 1939 and 1945, the extermination of 11 million people, 6 million of which were Jewish.
Oh, that okay, all right. Yeah, I know about that. So it has obviously it had a purpose.
What was the
Purpose
purpose?
of human being human. It was purpose of a human, the specific person. Maybe we cannot name him here right now, but it was humans came in the universe with a free will. He did a bad thing, like whatsoever, it's bad or a good thing, whatsoever you name it. But it's gonna be in the end. The Earth is the test going on.
But what's the purpose? What was the purpose of that happening?
Maybe he didn't like them.
Well, you're giving me the reason why, Hitler did the things that he did. I'm asking what's the purpose?
Purpose? It was a person who killed the other person. It's not
Yeah,
the
so
God
what's the
who killed
purpose
them.
of it? What's the purpose of it? What's the point?
Okay, if I
What's the point? Like, what was the point in God's plan, right?
it was not God's plan. Of course, it's not God's plan to kill those
Wait a minute.
people.
So
Do you think
there are things that happen in the universe that God didn't do on purpose?
God gave the free will to people. All right.
Okay, so
Let's
then
say
not everything in the
Hitler, for
universe has a
example.
purpose endowed by God.
God created human. All right.
Okay,
Just
so
listen right
but just to
now,
be clear, you agree
explain
that
to you.
not everything in the universe has a purpose that was endowed by God?
I'm just gonna explain it to you right now. I listened to your question, right? So
Well, can you just answer it?
what I'm
Answer the
saying
question,
is,
that'd be good.
yeah, I'm going through it. You gotta listen it, right? All right. So you said not everything. I'm not saying that. Humans have free wills. They came and God created them with the free will to decide what's good, what's bad, right? They have the free will to decide. So Hitler, in that case, didn't decide what's good. He decided the
Okay,
bad
so
one.
but
And he
that
killed those people.
you're still not answering my question. Sounds like you're
Right.
saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying that there are things that happen in the universe that were not done on purpose by God.
Things done by humans that are not done by God.
Yeah, so they're not done on
Other
purpose.
things,
So they don't
like
they
the
don't
expansion
have,
of
so
the
God didn't give
the
them a
expansion
purpose. God didn't give those things a
to
purpose.
humans. To humans?
No, just a purpose,
To
whatever you think
humans,
a
God
purpose
gave a
is.
purpose.
No,
The end purpose.
the things that
God
humans
gave a
do,
Mhm.
do those have a purpose to God?
Mhm. God gave a purpose, but it's on humans. They have the free will to decide if they want to do it
Okay,
or not.
what is do you think that purpose is something that exists objectively? Or do you think it's just like a subjective thing?
Purpose is a thing that's given to someone. It's similar to a journey you're deciding and you have an end mark. And I tell you to go to this specific place. It's on you if you go left or right. If you go to it or you don't. I told you to go to that specific place. So it's similar in that God's case. God gave you life to decide, okay, that's your end. Hey, you're going to die. So that's your purpose in your life, whatsoever. And it's on you. Humans have free will to decide if they're going to do good in life or bad. And
so God doesn't
as per your
give
example,
a purpose
Hitler,
to things that humans do.
God gave a purpose to every human. Like, let's say, it's
So what was the
different
purpose
beliefs
of Hitler?
for different religions. Purpose of Hitler was surely not what God wanted, of course. He killed
So
some
wait a minute.
people, innocent.
So no, I'm asking.
Mhm.
So God created Hitler. What was the purpose of creating Hitler?
God created Hitler as similar to. Exactly, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Humans were created by God. Let's just take Hitler as a normal human being. All right? Let's take him as like me and you, or a new baby born tomorrow. All right? God created him as a young kid, and he have a free will to decide what's he gonna do. All right? So it's on him.
Okay, so just to
He
be
does
clear,
bad
and I
or
just want to
good.
make sure, I just want to get the concession here. You think there are things in this world that have a purpose,
Mhm.
but that purpose was not granted by God?
No. There are things that
So there's
human
nothing
does
in the
that have a-
world. Is there anything in the world that has a purpose,
Right.
but that
Mhm.
purpose what didn't come from God?
Sorry, what? I didn't get the point. Can
Okay.
you say it again?
Are
Sorry.
there things in the world that have a
Mhm.
purpose, but the purpose
Okay.
didn't come from God?
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
know. Okay, you want
Okay.
it like from humans? Okay.
I'm glad that
Okay.
we agree. Not everything in the world has a purpose from God.
Exactly. The
So
bad
there are things
let's
that
say-
that don't happen on purpose according to God.
Yeah.
So God
Let's
just
say,
kind of
like
like
the
stuff.
Hitler
So
thing.
in some sense, there's stuff that happens in the world that is unintentional from God's perspective.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
So
saying
there is stuff that
the
happens in the
human-
world that God wish wasn't the case.
Mhm. For sure.
So that, and if God wishes they weren't the case, God's will is not aligned with the world being that way. And if
But
God is all
gave free will to
powerful,
human to decide.
if
Yeah?
God is all powerful, then
Mhm.
what it means to be all powerful is that God can always enact his will. And yet,
But God gave the free will.
and yet God is not enacting his will to make the world the way that he wants it to be. So either God is not all powerful, or God has a deliberative process and sometimes does not enact his will, which just means that there is a higher order will that supersedes it.
Okay, I listen to your point. Now, my argument is that if we just take one example, of course, there's a lot of things in the universe going on. So we cannot conclude all of them. We go with one example. Let's say you give the example, as you said, about Hitler, right? So God created Hitler, all right? God gave him free will, all right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the one to decide if he's gonna like do the stuff in good ways, like the good deeds, or the bad ones, right? He decided the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
And God cannot. So in the end, he died, right? So God
Mm-hmm.
gave the free will to Hitler, but he decided the bad one, and he killed certain amount of people, right? So he didn't follow the path, but God gave the free will. In the end, the God is gonna be the one who's gonna decide and gonna be punishing him for what he did if it's against the God.
Okay. Seems like you
Hope
didn't
you
address what I
understand my
said, but
argument.
that's fine.
Seems like you didn't understand what I said.
You said that God gave him free will. He did a bad thing, and if the thing that he did was genuinely bad, God will punish him for it. I've understood perfectly what you said. You didn't understand my objection to that. And the reason I know you didn't understand it
understood
is
your
because you
objection.
didn't address my objection.
I did. You just said
Okay, can you
that,
repeat
like,
back to me what my objection was?
yeah, you said that God, if God have the power over everything, then how come God, like, let's say example of Hitler, he killed some certain amount of people. That's a bad thing for us, right? So why didn't God, like, it was opposite to what God gave the purpose to him. So why is God like let that happen? Right? That's your argument. in
No, the
simple words.
objection is that either everything has a purpose that God granted it, because God is then acting according to his will, the world is in alignment with his will, or God does not have the power to stop things that are not aligned with his will. So either everything has a purpose that God gave, or God is not all powerful.
God is all powerful. He can create, he can kill a certain people tomorrow. Don't
If God
know,
is all
maybe I'll
powerful,
be
then
living
it follows from the argument I just gave, which, again, I don't think that you were paying attention to. It follows that everything that is the way or every way that the world is, it is that way because it is God's will to be that way.
Yeah, it's the God way, the way God
And
wants the
hence
world
it
to
was
be.
done
Like
on
that-
purpose. Hence it has a purpose granted by God. And now you're stuck back where you started. But if you don't like the Holocaust example, I can just ask you about the bushfires in Australia in 2019. In 2019, 2.46 billion lizards burned to death as a result of lightning strikes. What was the purpose of that?
Maybe different purposes. Maybe they were like harmful to different species.
The
That's the God's
2.46 billion
purpose,
lizards were all harmful to different species, and the only way to get rid of them was by burning them to death.
2.4 billion.
Yeah,
Are you sure about that?
2.46 billion, yeah.
All right. Okay. Go on.
Yeah, they were burned to death between 2019 and
They were burned.
2020. Yeah.
So, of course, it surely had some purpose of them getting
Okay, what was the
burned,
purpose?
for sure. Okay, we are humans. We don't have power to know what was the purpose of God,
So then how do you know it has a purpose?
because God had purpose to everything.
Oh,
He
if you just
created.
assert the claim, then that's the argument. How do you know it has a
Exactly,
purpose
that's
if
what
you
I'm
don't know
saying.
what the purpose is?
Because not everything I can know, but I surely
Okay,
know.
so then how
by
do you know
some
that
of the
everything has a
evidence that
purpose? You made the claim that everything has a purpose. Or rather, you agreed that this thing has a purpose, but you don't know what the purpose is, so how do you know that it has a purpose again?
Everything have a purpose in a sense, like
Oh, the claim again.
what?
You just keep saying the same thing rather than actually providing an argument.
I told you, like in case of humans, okay.
Yeah, that's
So-
why that's why I gave you another example that doesn't involve humans.
That's what I'm saying. Humans don't have power to know every evidence. God
Okay,
is
so then how do you
supreme.
know that the
He
things
knows
that are not caused by humans have a purpose?
that God knows, of course.
But
How
why
am
would you
I,
think that
a
it's
single
true?
human being who don't have any
Why would you
power
think
to
that that's
create
true?
anything, gonna know?
Why would you think that it's true that it has a purpose?
Because it's God who created us. We have
Well,
a
that's the
purpose to
claim
die.
again.
In our religion, we blood. That's a claim, right? So
Yeah, and that's the thing that you're trying to
okay,
convince me of.
that's what I try to convince you, but you're just like going to the other things.
Yep.
But my argument is simple. My belief is that, like,
Yeah,
if
but
everything
Mirzan,
is yeah,
who created the stars and the black holes?
God.
I can't. I can't. I can. All right, let's read some super chats and then we'll move on to our next guest. From El Travieso with the $10, Dr. Blitz, I have no expertise in the fields discussed, but love to listen and learn. Please buy yourself a coffee. Love what you do. I will. I appreciate that. From Fear's Interaction with the $5, $5 for the quiet exasperation on Blitz's face during the "who created your glasses" argument. Oh, I was doing my very, very best to keep that quiet. I'm glad I succeeded. From Skeptical Dilettante with the $20. This is so very generous. Thank you so much. Anyone with a family member with dementia knows the brain isn't intelligently designed. In Before the Fall, or Free Will. An all good creator punishes people with a disease that destroys everything that makes them who they are. Yup, apparently. Yup. And from Jamnik with the $5, is your cat a ragdoll? It's super cute. Fun fact, if you put mirrors on your cat's feet, you'll have paws for reflection. That's funny. Yes, she is a ragdoll. She is a diva. She's a Czech princess. And she's also, like, evil. From Ekapo with the €5, ancient Chinese tortured people by slowly dripping water onto your forehead. Theists torture people by slowly dropping stupid into your brain. I struggled so much. From Pat in the chat with the $5, crossbow bolt to the eye, eh? That reminds me of that one time I took an arrow to the knee. Hey-oh! All right, I see what you did there. From Jack Fetter with the $2, flagellare equum mortem. Yeah, we just... From Mr. Pecho with the $20, caller is forcing the Discord to invent new words for stupid. That's a big oof. And from the J Pump with the $5 for your patience, which is much appreciated. From Exploding Tiger with the $2 to the heart, which is also much appreciated. Thank you so much. One more from the Grebo, shining example of the bicameral mind theory. Yeah, that is a good example of that, actually. All right, let's bring up our next guest. Let's talk to Nidal Asem.
Hello.
Nidal, how's it going?
It's going all right. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Nidal, do you believe in a god? Oh, where'd you
go? Yes, I do believe in God.
Okay, and which god would that be?
The Islamic God, Allah.
Okay, cool. So I don't. Why should I believe in it?
I mean, okay, if I want to convince you that there is Allah, I first have to go build from the origins. So do you believe in a necessary being to begin with? Do you believe that the universe had a prime cause?
You and I probably understand cause in different ways. I don't think that I don't think that there was ever a state of affairs where nothing existed, where no universe existed.
So I think there is something that in its essence, existence is necessary.
Sure.
Like it cannot not exist.
Sure, I think that's plausible. Well, okay, no, let me rephrase. I think it's plausible that nothing cannot exist, meaning that there must have been something. It's not clear to me that it must have been a specific thing.
Yeah, that's okay. So there is something that exists necessarily.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, my argument is basically like argument from contingency, because we say that everything we can conceive of them existing or not existing. So why do they exist? Because it's metaphysically possible for them to not exist.
Wait a minute.
So they are dependent on something
what
else.
notion of contingency are you using? Are you using modal contingency and modal necessity, or are you using something else?
I'm using I'm using metaphysical possibility. Like
Okay.
basically, like Ibn
Can you
Sina's,
elaborate on what you mean by metaphysical possibility and how it's distinct from physical possibility or from logical possibility?
Well, I mean, when I say metaphysically possible, I mean we can conceive of this being having like a quality named A or quality B. The difference between logical possibility and metaphysical possibility, I think, like, is basically exemplified by the water analogy or the water example. Like, we cannot conceive of water being different than H2O, even though it's logically possible to have water that's XYZ, but it's not metaphysically possible to have different qualities. Because that would not
I don't
be
understand
water.
how you're cashing out metaphysically possible here. Like, so I would say that it's a physical truth that water is H2O, right? I don't think that that's a metaphysical claim.
It is as well a metaphysical claim, because what is the essence of water? If not
I have no idea what that
H2O
question
or
means.
components? Well, that's basically a metaphysical question, because metaphysics looks into the essence of things, tries to define the nature of things. So the nature of water is basically H2O. So that's the nature of water.
No, that just sounds like it's a definition. But to be clear, it could have been the case that like water wasn't H2O, right?
No, but then it would be water. Then it would not be water. So
well, no, I mean, like the way that
H2O.
the way that we understand water is like that wet thing that hangs out in lakes and oceans. And it could have been that like all of our science was wrong and we misidentified it, and it's not actually H2O, it's something else.
Yeah, true. That's why it's necessary to be that thing.
So it doesn't seem, but like, so like it's just a physical fact that water is H2O. Like this thing that we call water, like the wet stuff that lives in lakes and oceans. It's just it's a physical fact that water is H2O. That's not like some I don't know how you're cashing out metaphysical here.
No, but like, let me extrapolate from the water example into the universe. Like, you can actually.
Okay, well, you're gonna have a hard time.
You're
gonna have a hard time extrapolating if I don't understand what the base case is. I don't understand how you're cashing out metaphysical possibility here whatsoever.
Okay, well, you just said in your own words that you can conceive of water having some different qualities, right? So
yeah.
like, it's conceivably possible.
Yeah.
So it's conceivably possible that we can have worlds that are different in physical constants, in natural laws, in even appearance of galaxies and stars. Like, there are so many variants. Okay.
Sure.
So it has a certain features. It has chosen a certain path. This is why we call it contingent, because it could have different characteristics.
Well,
so why
hold
does it
on.
have
When
this?
you say could
why
have,
is it A rather than B?
When you say could have, what do you mean? Do you mean like that do you mean that like we can conceive of it being different? Because if that's all you mean, I don't take conceivability to be necessarily linked to possibility.
Well, I mean, that's basically when you say it's metaphysically possible, that's what I mean.
You just mean conceivable?
Like, I think that, yeah, it means conceivable.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think that conceivability has anything to do with contingency or necessity.
No, but like, a contingency is defined as something having existed, or it could have existed or failed to exist. Like, it's equal in outcomes. So we need.
But when you say could have failed to exist, when you say could have failed to exist, you are making a modal claim. You're making a claim that says it is impossible, given some modal scope, for this thing to be for this thing to be the case, or that it is possible, given some modal scope, for this thing to be the case. And it seems like the modal scope that you're relying on is conceivable.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm appealing to my like conceivability. Like, it's conceivable for the universe having not existed.
Why should I think that conceivability has anything to do with the way the world is, or ways the world could actually have been, if it could have been different?
Well, because if you can conceive of something and you don't have an answer or sufficient explanation for why it's A rather than B, then your worldview is lacking in explanation. But my worldview isn't, because I have something, which is God, that explains everything.
Do you have an explanation?
Yes,
sorry, I'm stealing this from Ian, but do you have a? Can you conceive that Goldbach's conjecture is true?
I'm not familiar with that.
Goldbach's conjecture is that every even number is the sum of 2 primes. I think that's Goldbach's conjecture. Yeah, every even integer greater than 2 is the sum of 2 primes. That's Goldbach's conjecture. Can you conceive of that being true? Oh, I guess this from Kripke.
Like 3 plus 5 equals 8?
Yes. That for every even number that that you can write it as the sum of two prime numbers. Can you conceive of it being false?
No, because it's logic. I said not logically possible. I said metaphysically possible. That's the difference. Because it's not logically possible. Because math is logic. I said metaphysically possible.
So can you conceive of Goldbach's conjecture being false?
No, because math is logic, and 2 prime numbers.
Wait, so you can't conceive of Goldbach's conjecture being false? You're not understanding Goldbach's conjecture. Goldbach's conjecture is that for any even number that you pick, you will always be able to find 2 prime numbers that sum up to it. That's Goldbach's conjecture.
Yeah, like I said, like 8 is the sum of 3 plus 5.
Right, but this is saying for every even number, there's always a pair of prime numbers that are, if you add them together, you get the even number back.
But isn't that expression of reality? Like, isn't this how?
No,
like
it has not been proven.
True?
It has not been proven.
Oh,
no.
really? I'm not familiar with that. Okay.
That's why it's a conjecture, not a theorem. Yeah, I mean, you can conceive that there's a number that you could come up with that there's no way of writing it as the sum of 2 prime numbers.
Okay.
I can imagine such a number exists.
Okay. I mean, maybe this is like some loophole in our minds, because we lack some knowledge. But like, would you concede that
exactly?
In my
That's my point.
Okay. So you're
conceivability
saying, like,
is not linked to possibility. It's merely linked to perhaps a lack of knowledge.
Okay. Can I just like what was it called? What's the
Goldbach's conjecture? Goldbach. G-O-L-D. It's like gold and then B-A-C-H. Goldbach.
B-A-C-H. Okay. So so would you concede that in my worldview, if I had a perfect God with perfect divine attributes, I have a perfect explanation for everything, and I have fulfilled the PSR? Whereas you have so many
clear,
facts
I don't even. To be clear, you haven't even asked me what my worldview is. So you're kind of just, I mean, it's not quite a straw man because you're not well, it is a straw man because you're misrepresenting my worldview. You just said, because you have so many brute facts, blah, 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 like, hold your horses, buddy.
No.
Secondly, it seems like that so your contention is that in your worldview, you have this perfect God with all these perfect qualities. So you're asking me if you have an explanation for everything?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a God with perfect divine attributes, you can like it explains everything. It like disregards the need for brute facts.
So can you explain why the PSR is true?
Because it's intuitively true. Like we have.
No. I mean, what's the actual explanation? Intuition isn't an explanation, of course.
Okay, but like everyone's okay. I know that intuition is an explanation, but knowledge has to rely on first principles that are not explanatory.
I'm sorry. I thought you said that in your worldview you have an explanation for everything.
Yes, and
now you're just saying that the PSR must be true because you need an explanation. That's just asserting the PSR again.
Okay, so you want me to prove PSR is necessary?
Yeah, well, I want you to explain PSR in your worldview. Yeah.
I mean, from our observation, from our every day-to-day life, we notice that everything has explanation.
So are inductive explanations sufficient? Because then I have an explanation for everything inductively.
Okay, but like logic is something like we all accept logic. We all have things we have to accept. Otherwise, we cannot have knowledge.
Okay, so then in your worldview, there are things that you cannot explain. Even if there's a perfect world, a perfect God with perfect properties.
No, I can't explain that. I can't explain it like building from logical principles.
Okay, but so to be clear, what's the explanation for the PSR then?
No, PSR to me is like the law of non-contradiction. Like does not within itself requires an explanation.
Oh,
like it's just a
so then you can't explain everything.
Well, I can't explain the law of non-contradiction. Like I can't explain logic using something.
Okay, so then not everything has an explanation in your worldview.
Of course, like you can't explain logic.
Okay, so you just have a whole bunch of brute facts in your worldview?
Okay, this is actually, I have not thought about this. Maybe it is a brute fact that I have logic and the PSR. But I think I actually have not looked into philosophers explaining the PSR, but maybe there is an answer for it.
So it's
But
my
I was
understanding
like
that
appealing
not
to
all
intuition, that
so
everyone's intuition
my
to
understanding is that
accept the
not all
PSR.
philosophers accept the PSR.
But okay, they would have to like negate intuition in order to disprove the PSR.
Well, the claim is not that the inverse of the PSR is true. The claim is not nothing has an explanation. The claim is that not all things have an explanation. That's what it would mean to reject the PSR, right? By the way, for those who don't know, the PSR
means like
sorry, one sec. Not everybody in the chat knows what the PSR is. The PSR is the principle of sufficient reason, which is just this idea that for every fact of the world, there is an explanation or there is a reason for why the fact is the way that it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be much better? Like, okay, you can say that the universe exists in this particular way when it could have existed in so many other ways for nothing at all. Like, no reasonable person would take that belief system. When you have something else that perfectly explains it,
look,
which is the belief in an omnipotent, omniscient, all-powerful.
What is the reason for thinking that the universe could have actually been in a different way? Is it just that it's conceptually viable?
Yeah, because it's metaphysically possible to conceive of that.
I don't take the ability to conceive. I don't take conceivability to be related to actual possibility, right?
I mean, the fact that you can conceive of it
how about this? How about
does
this,
say
Nidal?
something, but it does reflect something about the real world that you conceive of it.
Is it conceivable that no God exists?
Is it conceivable that no God exists?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's logically possible. It's not metaphysically impossible.
What's the
it's logically impossible.
What's the contradiction?
Well, the contradiction builds from a premise that says the universe exists and then it has a cause.
Okay, so it's not logically impossible. A logical impossibility can't rely on unless you want to add on some bridge axioms to your your laws of logic or some axioms to your laws of logic. Logical impossibility typically just relies on direct contradictions in terms, right?
So like I can go from premise one, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
You can derive a theorem from some premises, right? That's what we do when we make arguments, when we do syllogisms. But that's not like that doesn't make it logically impossible, because you can just reject one of the premises and now you have logical possibility.
Okay, but like if you say, is it conceivable for God not to exist? But if God doesn't exist, then I'm stuck with a world with no explanation, which negates the PSR, which I have okay.
But is that conceivable?
Is it conceivable?
Well, I'll give you a hint. It is conceivable because that's how I conceptualize the world, right? Conceivability obviously depends on the person. Some people can conceive of some things, some people can't. But the way that I conceptualize the world is a world that doesn't have a God in it. So if conceivability is somehow tied to actual possibility, that means that it's possible that God, again, using your language, it's possible that God doesn't exist. And if it's possible that God doesn't exist, then that means that God isn't necessary, which means that God doesn't exist.
Yeah, but my objection would be if you conceived of a world without God, then you would be stuck with many brute facts that are unexplained, which I understand maybe you can like try to reason your way out of the PSR, but that wouldn't like be a worldview that is like reasonable or like
we didn't say anything about reasonableness. We said about conceivability. You were making the argument that conceivability implies possibility, and what I have established now is that if you take that worldview, you end up with the worldview that God does not exist.
Maybe, but if you take that worldview, you would also have to negate the PSR because you would be stuck with brute facts. Like that's why I would reject it.
Okay, right. So what I'm indicating to you,
possibility to begin with.
What I'm indicating to you is that for these reasons, for the reasons that you've provided, for the reasons that I've provided, you should not try to link conceivability with possibility, really in probably any modal scope.
Okay, can I like take back my answer? You could not conceive of a world without God because that would negate the PSR. So I think that would be a more reasonable.
So I'm currently conceiving of a world without God.
Okay, now you're negating the PSR, or you're going against the PSR.
Sure, but I'm still conceiving of it.
Many brute facts that are unexplained.
So it is conceivable that God does not exist.
Yeah, it is conceivable, but it's
Right. So does conceivability imply possibility?
disputing. Okay, I understand why conceivability is not possibility.
Okay, so then, right, so we agree conceivability is not possibility. So now, want to explain to me how we know that the world could be some other way?
Well, my main objection is that you have brute facts, basically. Like, if I want to boil it down to one thing,
I'm now asking about the way. Can you explain how we know that the world could have been some other way?
Other than conceiving of it?
Yeah. Because we've just established now that conceivability is not the same as possibility.
I don't think we have tools outside of our brains. So if we can't conceive of things to determine possibility, we cannot have any other tool to
okay, so
like, reach possibilities.
It just sounds like that you don't have a reason to think that the world could have been some other way.
Other than conceiving it, which is the only tool that I have, no, I don't have.
Right, and we've agreed, we've established now that conceivability does not get you to actual possibility.
I think this is a big question. I have not like asserted my beliefs on it, but I feel like it's reasonable to say if you can conceive of something, then it is possible. I know you said the example that I can conceive of a world without God, but I said you would go against the principle of sufficient reason.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop me from conceiving of it.
Is not reasonable. In that sense,
conceivability is unrelated to reasonability, right? I could hold the worldview that every single fact of the world is brute, that literally everything about the world is brute, and while that might not be a satisfactory worldview, there's no logical contradiction in it, and so I could conceive of it.
Yeah, you could conceive of it.
And that doesn't make it possible.
I guess that's true. But like in my worldview, like if there's a God without any limitations, like without any its perfection literally means it lacks limitation. So it's not dependent on anything else.
I don't think that's what perfection means. Like if you want to say that it has no limitations, that's fine. That's just not what perfection means.
No, perfection implies lack of limitation. Like
no, it doesn't.
It is full in every attribute. So it's not dependent on anything prior to it, so it's self-explanatory.
By the way,
I don't need like
the maximal perfection, full in every attribute. This is like we can go down that rabbit hole, but it's just not a rabbit hole worth going down because you're going to have a hard time defining which attributes are positive and which are negative.
I can just like go from first principles. Like, I mean, if you can say good is basically a good attribute, so we attribute that to God. We can say
good is a good attribute.
Wisdom.
That's not very helpful. I mean, like maybe it's trivially true, but it doesn't tell me what good is.
You don't have to understand what good exactly entails.
Like, could I say that could I say that greed is a good attribute?
No, because greed is like no two people would disagree that the greed is a bad thing. So obviously we would all say from first principles that greed is bad.
From first principles? How are you deriving this from first principles? What?
From the fact that it's a necessary knowledge that no two people would disagree on.
It's necessary knowledge? How are you coming to that conclusion?
I mean, we have intuitions, so we have intuitions.
Intuitions don't get us to necessary knowledge. I have intuitions that God doesn't exist. You wouldn't say that that's not necessary. You wouldn't say that that's necessary knowledge.
No, I believe it's a learned belief system that God doesn't exist. It's not an intuition.
I would say it's a learned belief system that God does exist.
I mean, it's a claim, but it's hard to defend statistically because variant cultures reach the conclusion that God exists. Without any intervention.
And you'll find atheists in various cultures too.
Okay, can I ask you something besides the point? Because I feel like we're getting in gridlock. Okay, what do you think about the research that says, and I'm not like implying or hinting at anything, but like most people who are who commit suicide, unfortunately, they happen to be of like the atheists, or they lack belief, or they lack any spiritual affiliation.
I don't know if that's true. If it is true, it wouldn't surprise me because most of the two most populous religions, I actually am not sure about Islam. Maybe you can correct me here. Is suicide a sin as far as Islam is concerned?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so then it's just wholly unsurprising that people who would otherwise be suicidal, but believe in either the Christian faith or the Muslim faith, that they would abstain from doing it because they're afraid of burning in hell.
Yeah, that is a possibility. You can read into it that way, but I feel like it fulfills a spiritual need that is essential in us. Okay, but
I'm doing fine.
yeah, I mean,
and I don't
I
have
can
it.
I can see how that's reasonable. Okay, also, but like, do you think religion serves any value? Like, it does force us to commit more to morality that is like culturally agreed upon to be good,
I'm
whereas
not
in
so
atheistic
I
worldviews,
think
that's
that
not.
well, hold on. It is by no means clear that you can't have objective morality in an atheist worldview, and it's by no means clear that you have objective morality in a theist worldview. It seems that theism, or more specifically religion, actually, probably played the role of like early government in that it provided coercive reasons to act a certain way in a society. You know, before we had large-scale governmental organizations that enforced laws with police officers and, you know, prisons and everything, it was pretty easy to enforce social norms by saying, if you don't do this, you're going to hell. So in that sense, sure, I can absolutely agree that religion at some point played an important sociological role, and to a certain extent, it may very well continue to provide an important sociological role. I just don't think that that points to it being true.
Yeah, but like not in terms of defining objective morality, what they are. No, but like in terms of holding people responsible to adhering to those moral principles or moral laws. Like, yeah, maybe you can say that objective morality is better in atheistic worldviews, or that you can have an epistemological way of reaching those objective morality. But I'm saying moral responsibility wise, like we are more like driven towards the commitment to these morals because we have a worldview where we're going to hell or we're displeasing God if we could do something bad. Whereas atheists, they don't have that commitment because they don't believe in a jurisdiction law or a jury, like what do they call it?
Yeah,
Like a
my
system
only
of
contention
punishment
with that
and
is,
rewards.
so like, if it were the case that like everybody agreed on what the correct morals were, and then the theists just had the additional responsibility, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
because they thought that if they didn't do the moral thing, they would go to hell, then I'd agree with you. But historically, it's just not the case that everybody has agreed on what the moral thing is. So you'll have plenty of people who are religious who will do heinous things because they think that they're in the right with the God that they believe in. And so it just doesn't seem like the fear of hell is stopping people from, you know, as a whole, stopping people from doing bad things.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. I mean, that's why I said it's not in regards to objective morality, because even the religious people can get morality wrong by misreading the religious texts. But I meant purely from a moral responsibility system, where they will be more likely to adhere to these moral teachings because they have this internal
Well, I think
moral
that
compass.
everybody adheres to their own morality. The question is just, what is the morality that they adhere to, right?
No, but like in the mystery or in the privacy of your own room, when there is no one watching upon you, you are more likely to do bad things because there are no consequences. Whereas the religious person does not have that worldview because they understand that everything
I don't think that
recorded.
anybody intentionally does bad things. I don't
mean,
think, or let me
bad things
rephrase.
happen.
I don't think that people intentionally do things that they think are bad.
No, I mean, I can read so many news stories just right now of things happening that clearly have no good intentions behind them, like heinous things
Do you think that
could not be explained.
Do you think that Hitler thought he was evil?
No, in the example of Hitler, no, but there are clearly some people who have nothing, like they don't do bad things for anything other than they are bad. Like they just have, I don't know, maybe like they take pleasure out of doing bad things, but there are
So
no
then
other
they
good
don't think
reasons
it's
for doing
bad.
bad things.
Then they don't think it's bad to do.
In the Hitler example, I think he did it for some other thing that he thought it was good.
Yeah, and I would say that that's probably true for most psychopaths.
No, I mean, I think there are some psychopaths that do bad just for the quality of it being bad, like
Yeah,
for nothing further.
they don't think it's bad to do. They don't think that there's anything wrong with them doing it.
No, I think they know that it is bad, but they take pleasure, or like they have no moral responsibility to say, I should not do the bad thing.
I mean, I don't know. It seems very unlikely that that's the case. Maybe such people do exist where they're like, I'm so evil and I'm going to keep being evil. But like, that seems very, very implausible to me. And so, yeah, if those people exist, then sure, give them religion.
Okay. Yeah, I hope these people don't exist anyways.
Me too.
But yeah, thank you for the conversation.
Of course. Thanks for being here. I need to... All right, let's read some super chats and we'll move on to our next guest. From Will Day with the $2, objection asked and answered. Well, fair enough. From Fancy Zling with the $5, I always find the P zombies silly and question begging. If consciousness is what the brain does, is X's position... Oh, if consciousness is what the brain does is X's position, then P zombies are not possible for X. Right, that's the idea. And from Chase Martin Physics with the $2, odd take as most mass self-off events are religious. That's true too, but usually they're sufficiently fringe religion that people don't think they're going to hell for it, as far as I know. From Ken with the $50, super generous, and I appreciate that. So very kind of you. Off topic, but I hate the Adam and Eve story. Either A, God isn't all-knowing, or B, God set up humanity to fail, knowing they'd fail in the first place, then acts mad when they failed. He knew they'd fail before they could try. Any thoughts? Yeah, I mean, you could even make, like, people will often offer the free will defense and say, oh, well, God couldn't have known that they were going to fail because God knows all things that it is possible to know. It is not possible to know what actions a free will agent will have. Therefore, God doesn't know what actions the free will agent will take. But definitely God did know that he let the snake in, right? He put effectively babies next to the most evil being in the world or in the universe. It seems like a setup. Right, it seems like a setup. Also, Brenda's very loud in the comments. If you want to come up, Brenda, you can. Brenda? No thanks, you're a bully. Whatever you say, Brenda. If you think I'm a bully, you must not like any debate people, because I'm so kind. No, it's Brenda on YouTube. This Brenda. She uses caps a lot. Yeah, Ian, yeah, it's that Brenda. Yep, famously, I'm the meanest guy on the internet. Very true. All right, let's bring up a guest. Let's talk to Zid. Zid, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Zid, do you believe in God?
Yep.
Okay. Which God would that be?
The one of Islam.
Okay, cool. Why should I believe in that God?
Because there are philosophical and revelational proofs that prove that he exists.
Okay. Care to give me one?
Sure. So, in terms of revelation.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Zid, how old are you?
18.
What year were you born?
2007.
Okay. Fine. Sure. So, yeah, give me an argument.
Okay, so first I'll start philosophically. So, the argument from contingency, I'll say that there are three modal categories: necessary, contingent, and impossible. And
sure,
there isn't a infinite regress of contingent existences because there's nothing to ground it, which leads to a necessary existence.
Hold on, I'm a little bit confused. How are you hashing out contingent here?
Oh, contingent as in causal. It doesn't, a contingent thing that doesn't have the explanation within it, and it requires an external causal explanation.
Okay, so you're taking contingent to be something that is not self-explaining?
Yeah, and it requires an external cause.
Well, that's... Do you think that there are things that are not self-explaining but do not require an external cause?
I mean, it's not a logical impossibility. It's not a contradiction. So there could
Okay.
be.
So then you're missing a category of things, because you said that there's 3 different kinds of things. I take it that by necessary you I know. I take it that by necessary you mean something like is self-explanatory, does not require an external explanation because it explains itself.
Doesn't require an external explanation, yeah.
Does it also explain itself?
No, I'm not sure about that. I'll just say it grounds all of existence.
Well, look, we just need a definition for what necessary is. And you don't want to say grounds all of existence is part of the definition of being necessary.
I don't know about the it has the explanation within itself.
Okay. Look, the reason why I ask is because if you say that it's possible for something to not be self-explained, but also not have an external explanation, then it seems like you're allowing a 4th category of thing, which is a thing that doesn't require an external explanation, but also doesn't explain itself. This would just be like brute things. And then you would want to say that there's 4 categories, not 3. But you probably don't want that. You probably want something like a contingent thing is a thing that requires an explanation and that explanation be external. Or perhaps you want to say that a contingent thing is something that has an explanation that's external to it. And you would want to say that a necessary thing is a thing that has an explanation, but it's internal to it. It's self-explanatory.
Okay,
right?
sure.
But then this is not the same category of objects as a thing that is impossible, right? Typically, when you have the trichotomy of necessary, contingent, and impossible, this is in a modal sense, namely that contingent or necessary things are things that exist in all possible worlds. Contingent things are things that exist in some possible worlds and not others. And impossible things are things that don't exist in any possible worlds. But if you're just saying things with explanations either have explanations internal or external, that's only 2 categories. The impossibility thing is not even in the same category group.
So, what would you say would be your critiques to my assumption that there is a necessary existence, like from the infinite regress fallacy I gave?
I don't think that there's a fallacy with the infinite regress.
I mean, you could say that because it's not a logical impossibility that there could be brute facts. So, sure, you might not say it's a fallacy, but in terms of explanatory power, the necessary existence explains it the best.
How? So in order for, if by necessary you just mean a thing that explains itself, I'd like you to provide me the self-explanatory mechanism that allows the necessary thing to exist. Or are you just asserting that there exists such a necessary thing?
Yeah, there just exists a necessary thing.
I mean, like, suppose I grant that, I would just call the universe the necessary thing.
Or I don't think the universe can be necessary because, first of all, the universe contains contingent existences which can change.
Wait a minute, hold on. That's begging the question. That's begging the question. That's assuming that's assuming that the universe is like composite, and that you know, the that the reductionist view is the correct view. I guess it's technically not begging the question. It's just making assumptions about the worldview.
So are you saying that there's not any contingent existences within the universe?
Well, look, so I could take the view that the universe itself is necessary, and I could also be some sort of what's the word? Like priority monist, where I take it that the universe itself grounds its parts. And so the parts depend on the universe, but the universe does not depend on the parts. in which case, you know, I would say that, yeah, of course, the bits in the universe are contingent. They're contingent on the universe. Because, of course, you're using contingent to mean something like it has an external explanation. Which is not the modal sense, but it's fine. We can use that.
Wait, sorry, could you repeat the last part about why the issue with me saying that contingent things exist within the universe and why?
Well, I mean, if I'm a priority monist, my position would merely be that, yes, of course, contingent things exist in the universe. They are contingent upon the universe. The universe is the necessary thing, and the contingent things are its parts.
Okay, then I would say another way of tackling this question would be that the universe had a cause
Why would I think
via
that?
the Big Bang,
Oh,
because it's a scientific fact.
okay. Was it Mr. Scientist that told you?
But is it not a fact, the Big Bang?
No. Well, okay. The way that scientists understand the Big Bang is a fact. The way that you understand the Big Bang is not a fact.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So the way that scientists understand the Big Bang is that about 13.8 billion years ago, the universe was very small and very hot.
Yeah.
The way that scientists don't understand the Big Bang is that the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe.
Maybe I'm just lacking some knowledge then.
Here's a book that I would recommend you read. It would disavow you of all of this cosmological argument nonsense.
Oh, so you think that the contents of that book would actually counter a lot of the cosmological argument?
Well, it would counter this idea that the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe.
Okay. Anyways, my other proofs would come from Revelation, so and scriptural things. So I would say I would use the future prophecies of Prophet Muhammad in the Quran. Basically, it says that he predicts a war outcome, which was like very unlikely to predict. It was, I think, it was the Romans beating the Persians, and he gave a time frame for it within 3 to 9 years, and the prophecy came true. And there are other future prophecies like that as well.
So, as far as I'm aware, the verse says something like within a few years. It doesn't give an exact number,
No,
right?
but yeah, I know what you're talking. No, it does. The actual Arabic word, it means 3 to 9 years.
The word means 3 to 9? Really?
The actual Arabic one.
Yeah. No. I understand what your claim is. So you're telling me that if I go find the verse, which is Surah 30, verses 1 through 4, and I go look up what the word is. So, you know, we have it here. It's
the Arabic one specifically.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So here's the verse. In a few years' time, and this is in English, of course, in a few years' time, God is in command, first and last. On that day, the believers will rejoice. This is the prophecy that's being referred to, right? So you're telling me that if I go look up what these words mean, so that word, can you hear it?
في بضع سنين لله.
So you're saying that if I look up those 3 words, I played 4, but if you look up those 3 words, it will say within 3 to 9 years. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, wait. Is this the same prophecy about the Romans and the Persians?
Yeah.
Because I can't see that. Oh, okay, yeah. Sure.
The Byzantines have been defeated in a nearby land. They will reverse their defeat with the victory. It's that whole thing. Okay, so then if I just go to Google Translate, I'm just going to punch this in. This says, seems like it's within a few years, and in fact, we can even look at the specific word itself. So it seems like it just means a few, not within 3 to 9.
That's how it's translated to English, but the actual
okay, so
Arabic
then what? So it's not translated to English as between 3 and 9. Is that what you're telling me? That wouldn't be a correct translation to English?
Like that because you could research it. It actually means 3 to 9 years.
Okay. Where can I see that?
I mean, just try AI or something.
I'm just gonna I'm just gonna type in just the word and then meaning. It denotes a number more than 2, and according to Quora, fewer than 10. So is that the claim? Is that the source? Is it Quora?
Yeah, so 3 to 9 years.
So it's Quora is the source?
You can just use AI.
Okay, you want me to just punch it into AI?
Yeah, just do that.
Okay. All right, let's go to ChatGPT. Does this word mean a number between 3 and 9? Okay.
What
It does
does
say ChatGPT can make mistakes, check important info, see your privacy choices. But I imagine the trouble is with using AI for these kind of things is that it's going to rely on the websites that it finds, and the websites that it finds are going to be overwhelmingly theological for this particular word. I guess some lexicons, at least according to AI, it says some lexicons grammarians allow 3 to 10, but 3 to 9 is the standard explanation, especially in Islamic exegetical contexts. So, like, it seems like that this is like especially an exegetical thing. Are you a native Arabic speaker?
No.
Oh. So, how can you make the claim that this is actually what it means?
Because I researched it.
Where did you research it from people who speak Arabic, or did you just go online and look at like theological sources? Well, no, I mean, did you just like ask, hey, does this word mean a few, or does it mean 3 to 9, or did you like go and look up in the context of the verse? Because I didn't mention anything about the theology in my ChatGPT inquiry. I just said, does that mean a number between 3 and 9? And it brought up Islamic exegetical contexts, which means that its sources, the places it's getting it from, are theological in nature. It's calling from theological sources, right, to get to that definition. But you know what? Suppose that we grant that it says between 3 and 9 years. Okay. You have somebody who is a, fairly knowledgeable person who's lived in the area. It seems like it wouldn't be so hard to guess that, oh, they're going to win in a few years.
Well, no. Because there was this like non-Muslim historian who compared it, and he said that it was like, to make that prediction, it would be the equivalent of like a small country taking over America and Russia, if I remember correctly. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but this prediction was made after the Romans had like lost. So imagine like basing your whole religion's credibility within that time frame, and if you're wrong,
wait a minute. So they hadn't lost, right? Otherwise, it would have been over.
Wait, what?
They hadn't lost.
No. Okay, go back to that verse. Even before it says
maybe they were
Romans
losing.
No,
but they hadn't lost. Surely.
Wait, would you be able to go back to that?
Well, no, let's just think historically, right? If they had lost, that means the fight is over.
No, I think it was it might have been a different war. It said that they had lost, but within a few years, 3 to 9 years, they're gonna become victorious.
Okay, so you think that he's predicting a new war?
Yeah, would that not be a new war?
It's not clear to me that there was a new war.
Well, new war or not, it's still the prediction that they're gonna be victorious again. They're gonna take over.
This just doesn't seem particularly miraculous, right? Like, do you know who Professor Jiang is?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that he was divinely inspired? Yeah, the Chinese dude. Would you say that he was divinely inspired because he predicted that the US would go to a war with Iran?
No, but he had he could make good inferences.
Yeah, so why couldn't Muhammad?
Because how could he infer that when the Romans were in like a
Because
complete
he made good
lost
inferences,
state,
obviously.
and also he was leaving his whole religion's credibility on that prophecy. So if it didn't
Yeah, and he was, you know,
within-
his inferences were super good. But look, neither you nor I speak Arabic, so I'm going to bring up a native Arabic speaker while I drink some water and hydrate myself. Ems, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you? So
On the mend.
could you open up the tafsir of the verse? What happened is that Abu Bakr, the father-in-law and the friend of the Prophet, he made the bet with a bunch of Jews, and he put the bet for 3 or 5 years, and then the bet failed. And then he went back to the Prophet, and then the Prophet then said, less than 9.
Okay, so which tafsir should I be looking at?
So no, go a verse before.
Ah, okay. Here. This one?
Yes, and now read where it says, yeah, do you see the 3rd paragraph?
This one. Abu Bakr mentioned Abu Bakr mentioned this to the idolaters and they said, set a time limit for that, and if we prevail, we will get such and such, and if you prevail, you will get such and such. So he set a limit of 5 years, and they, the Romans, did not prevail. Abu Bakr mentioned that to the messenger of Allah, and he said, why do you not make it less than I, the narrator, think he meant less than 10? Said bin Jubair said, bid means less than 10. Then the Romans were victorious, and he said, that is what Allah said.
So at the beginning it was 5, and then it failed, and then it became 10.
Huh. The more you know. Zid, what do you think?
Doesn't the actual word mean 3 to 9 years?
No, it doesn't. But that just means a few.
I mean, okay.
Which is why, if the idolaters knew what it meant, they wouldn't have had to ask Abu Bakr for a time limit.
I'm not quite sure then.
And Ems, do you know, like, so were the Byzantines actually defeated? The war was over, and then there was a new war that started.
No. It's talking about a specific battle, and the battle didn't happen because it is mentioning that the battle should have happened in the Levant, in the lowest of land, and there doesn't seem to be a place where the Romans have beat the Byzantines in the Levant, or around the Dead Sea. So,
okay, and where does it say? Where does it say in the Quran where it's supposed to happen?
It says in the lowest of the land. Just Control F, and then maybe Levant, maybe lowest.
Oh yeah, sure.
Lowest in the tafsir.
Oh, in the tafsir. Oh, I see.
Wait, is
lowest.
an ex-Muslim?
Levant. Land. In the nearest land?
Yeah, sure.
The Romans have been defeated in the nearest land, and they, after the defeat, will be victorious. I see. Okay. And so, so the nearest land is referring to some place specifically?
It should mention it, yes.
From the land of Haran?
And then, the deserts of the Persian Gulf to blah, blah, blah. So it mentions specific places, and at least I haven't found a specific battle in which the Romans have beat the Byzantines in the time frame that the prophet gave the prophecy, in which, in that specific geographical area.
And so which battle is this? I'm just curious.
Nobody knows.
Well, so wait a minute. Did the Romans actually defeat the...
I mean, you'd have to know which battle it is, but we don't know what battle it is.
Well, was there a war?
There was a war, yes, but we don't know.
Okay, between the Romans and the...
Byzantines.
Wait, the Byzantines are the Romans.
I mean the Persians and the Byzantines.
Okay, so hold on. War between Persians and... I just want to see, I guess there's a lot. It ended with the Byzantine and the Sasanian empires in 628 AD. Is this the one that's being referred to?
Probably, yes.
Okay. And so, who won? Byzantine Sasanian War of 602 to 628. Final and most devastating war. Result, Byzantine victory. Okay, and I guess that happened in 628. And so, is the claim that...
referring to a specific battle that happened in the nearest land.
Okay. But presumably the people that claim that this is a true prediction, they think that it's referring to the year 628?
It's referring, they don't mention a specific battle, they just say that after the Persians beat the Romans, and then the Romans beat them in a different battle. But
Okay.
what battle it is, we don't know.
So then why would we think that the prophecy came true? Like, Zid, why do you think that the prophecy come true?
It failed at the beginning, and then he doubled the time from 5 to 9.
Well, sure, but why does Zid think that the prophecy came true? Like, why do people even, like, if we don't know what it's referring to, how can we even say it came true?
Because apparently there was non-Muslim sources that that were talking about it and confirmed it.
But, like, sorry, one sec. But look, what I'm trying to get at is, you say that this thing came true between 3 and 9 years after the prophecy was given. But what is the thing that came true?
The fact that the Romans beat the Persians.
Okay, so is that referring to the year 628?
I don't know.
So then why do you, if you don't even know what, okay, look, in order to say that a prophecy came true, you better know A, what the prophecy is saying, and B, what the thing is that you think is coming true, right? But you don't know what, like, we don't even know what this is referring to. Like, what year was this prophecy written? Do you know?
No,
you could probably look that up. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
there probably is a specific, like, mention of a date.
What year was, yeah, that's, 30 written, maybe. Around 615 AD. I guess, according to the AI overview. Who knows what that means? Okay, but that's actually, it's using this verse to try to get a date for it, so that's not particularly helpful. Okay, so alim.org says it was revealed in 615 AD, but it looks like the war didn't end until 628 AD. Yeah, it's 13 years before. So then what is the thing that fulfilled the prophecy?
It's going to refer to a specific battle, but what battle, I don't know.
Seems like we're stuck here, Zid.
The fact that the prophecy failed in the first place and then the time had to be doubled is enough.
It is a little concerning, doesn't it? Isn't it? Any thoughts, Zid?
Oh, I don't know. I would need to research that more.
Okay, well, good luck. Try to use as academic and objective sources as you can. Probably the best thing to do. But otherwise, I'm just going to let you go, okay?
Yeah, see you later.
Take care. And Ems, I'm actually... Yeah, of course. I'm actually just going to end the live soon anyway, so nobody else for you to come on and smash. Take care, bud. All right, let's read some super chats. Oh, we have none. I guess everybody hates me. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that again. It is very funny, though. Let's just make sure that I didn't get any cash apps or anything. We did not. Okay, cool. So if you don't know, you guys should, if you haven't seen it yet, you should absolutely check out my website. My website, rather than sending you to Discord and to YouTube to follow me and everything, just go to my website. Pretty easy. It's just blitz.phd. Not blitz.phd.com, not blitz.com, not blitzphd.com, blitz.phd. Type it into your browser. And there you can find all of the relevant links to my TikTok channel, my YouTube channel, my Instagram channel, my Discord channel. Consider following, joining on all of these places. You can also check out my research, which is pretty neat. There's a nice little tab up there. You can check my research. All of this stuff is publicly available to read. We don't have merch yet, but we're working on it. And if you want to contact me for whatever reason, there is a contact page. Now, I might not answer unless it demands an answer, but consider it. And then finally, if you want to support me, there's a few ways down here. It's just a cool website. I'm very proud of it, even though I didn't make it. You know, I mean, I kind of made it. I made Claude make it. So check it out. Oh, and if you don't know, there is a way to support me, which is probably preferable if you're planning on it, which is just become a Patreon member or equivalently become like a member on YouTube. It's like $4 or $5 a month. and then you get access to some perks. So, you know, you get something out of it. It's not just giving money to some random on the internet, right? And with one final super chat from Tucson Keg with the $5, thank you guys so much, and I will see you maybe tomorrow for Kerbal Space Program.